This letter will be her last will for her dear mother, because she believes that her words were true, and she should have listened to her mother in those moments when she said that this love is not eternal, and not the only one. The girl saw a man enter the room and ask him to wait a minute. However, the gentleman claims that they do not have time, and the main character asks if he can pass on this letter. The lady asks where the prince is, and the gentleman replies that he is waiting outside, and then takes her hand, and they walk together. At this time, people on the street scream and say that they should offer the saint. One day, an unknown creature, the devil, appeared, and within 1 day of its appearance, half of the western part of Aten turned to ashes. The wild screams of people echoed throughout the area from the terrifying power emanating from the entire creature. And at the moment when everyone wanted this creature to leave the sacred land for the imperial palace, someone began to spread a rumor that if the holy girl was sacrificed to the devil, everything would be resolved. The only saint of Otana, the immortal beloved chosen by the prince, a noble and benevolent woman, similar to an angel, Lavoraria Bailey, the saint who deceived people, claimed that in this country there are no people like the saint, Saint Lavieria, or simply Lara. She is an illusion created by the prince of this country, who is thirsty for the throne. The main character understood that she was just a minor character in the script created by the prince and the temple, and the main actor in this play, Siddharth Hafran Autan, the man she loved very much. The girl says that he is a bastard, and asks if he is happy now, and also wonders what will happen to him when she dies. The main character asks whether he will become a poor prince, saddened by the loss of his beloved, or a noble hero who overcame sorrows and defeated the devil. The prince extends his hand to her and says that she is his beautiful love, and the girl screams and tells him to stop. Suddenly, all the people were surprised because the prince knelt down in front of this lady, and he asks his beloved to die, and also reminds that they agreed, and offers her to close and die quietly. Lara claims that all this time she lived a prosperous life as a beloved princess and the only saint. The prince asks if this is not enough or if he needs more declarations of love and compliments. He claims that he loves her because she is so perfect and beautiful. Siddhar tells her to be more submissive, and then claims that she knows that he can drag her to the altar like a dog because she thinks that this is her reassignment, and asks if this is true, and at that time he thought that he can no longer watch this. The princess looked at His Majesty and claimed that he should not have betrayed her, and then took the bottle of poison and drank it. When the Siddhar saw this, he wanted to take it, but it turned out that he was too late. He screamed and asked to call the priest. At this time, the main character thought that she was in pain and felt as if her whole body was burning and her soul was being torn apart. But even so, she thought that everything was fine because she knew that this was not the end. The next day, the girl realized that she had returned to the life of Lavieria Bailey and not a saint. On the day when, in her past life, they decided to sacrifice her, on the day when all her resentment towards the prince spilled out, the goddess turns to Lara and tells her that she will give her a second chance to turn everything back and fix it. At this time, the main character thought that this was the end, but at that moment she heard someone's gentle voice, and it became interesting whether it was a message or a temptation of a dirty devil, because she understood that it did not matter. Lara is ready to give up her soul and is ready to find herself in an eternal trap of torment, and she is ready for anything because there is an opportunity to turn back time. The girl hated how much she resembled her mother in her cold nature, and believed that if she had taken after her father, she would have been able to win the love of a prince. She believed that her busy and indifferent mother was a bad parent, and her father was a good one, because he often gave her beautiful clothes and accessories. The main character at that time did not know that her father, despite his good-natured appearance, was a greedy and vile man. The young lady understood that she had to be soapy and not look straight into the eyes and keep her gaze down when she smiled, and do it quietly and innocently. Her father said that she should wear clothes and not show her skin because the prince liked quiet and modest women. To impress the prince, the girl tried to be the most gentle woman in the world. In exchange for losing herself, after being chosen by the prince, she began to do everything he said. The princess did not know that the prince and the temple were in collusion with the evil magicians, and by taking their side, she contributed to the expulsion of the innocent princess and unleashed a war between the kingdom and the regions where lawlessness reigned. A villain with the face of a saint, she brought misfortune to all the people who were near her. The maid asks the mistress how much longer, and also wonders if she caught a cold in the water. Connie claims that even though it is summer now, she asked her not to stay in the bath for so long. The maid looked at the mistress and asked in surprise what was wrong with her and if she was unwell. Then she assumed that she was cold and asked if she should bring a robe. The main character assures that everything is fine, and the maid asks what is going on. At this time, Laura thought that she was exactly such a child, and even if her facial expression became a little gloomy, she noticed it like a ghost and always followed her words. Among the Bailey family's maids, Connie was the only one who truly liked her. During the time of becoming a puppet prince, this maid was very unhappy and opposed. She was the only maid who did not like the Prince Sidar. Khan asks the lady not to enter the royal castle because he believes that if the prince truly loved the lady, he would not force her to meet the criteria of his taste from beginning to end. The maid says that she knows that she is crossing the line, but for her it is strange because she is dying from worrying about her. The lady claims that she crossed the line because she believes that the prince cannot do this. The child who had the courage to tell the truth was mercilessly cast out. At this time, the main character realized that she had made a mistake and then hugged her maid and thought that she missed her very much and then thought that it would be right to say thank you to her. Connie asks, in surprise, why the lady is behaving so strangely today, and also asks if she has read the novel about the playboy. There were too many people who stayed near her and became unhappy, and so the main character turned back time to now correct her mistakes. Lara thought that even if she had to become a real villain, she would do everything to live her life differently. However, she wondered how it all happened. The main character understood that she was now at a moment in which she had not yet met him. The girl asks the maid what date it is today and how her coming-of-age ceremony went. Connie replies that it was a complete mess because the Marquise was busy taking care of the faction and Madame was not there, and there were no other ladies at the party. Only the masters invited guests. Hearing this, the lady thought that it seemed that not much time had passed since that incident last summer when she had her birthday after the coming-of-age ceremony. She sent a portrait to the prince, and at that time, she wondered if she had already sent it and whether she had met him. Lara asks the maid, what about her mother? The maid replies that she heard that her mother is leaving soon because after breakfast, they started preparing her luggage. Hearing this, the lady thought about what it means that this will happen today, and then says that she will go to her. Right now, Connie suggests that the lady go together. Instead of calling her the Marchioness of Bailey, they call her Isadora of Heaven because she is very well known by this nickname and is the best voice in the Ottoman. The lady understood that her mother was always busy, and when the scale of the business surpassed the Otanian kingdom and reached the empire, rumors began to circulate that Isadora, a former commoner, had bought her husband for gold. But there was a good reason for the rumors, because a husband who despises his wife and a wife who despises her husband, they were known as one of the worst couples in society. And this same couple decided to strengthen the rumors even more. Since the ceremony of her coming of age, they finally broke up. Lara turns to the woman and says that as soon as she leaves this house, she will stop calling her mother. The mother turns to her daughter and she screams and objects, telling her not to call her by name anymore since they are now strangers. After this farewell, she felt that her mother had abandoned her, and the only thing that kept her sane until her death were the numerous letters sent to her mother. These were short letters, with a few questions, but in every word one could read sincere concern for her, and she does not understand why she did not notice this then, because her first response letter was her will. The main character thought that she would have liked to have known then that this would happen, because then she would have advised them to go back to the time when her parents were not yet married, and would have liked to tell her not to give birth to her and not to marry such a person. Lara reflects that now she can only tell her to go away and be happy, and she would like to say this because she thinks that maybe her mother would feel a little better. If Lara had not been born, then Mother would have been able to live a freer and better life than anyone else. The main character thinks that her mother is the coolest and most capable woman in the world, and she ran away being so confident, and now she became scared, and she wondered what if she starts to hate her. Lara understood that usually she was the one who didn't care about her, and was afraid that now her mother would react the same way, and if she could, she would at least apologize for all her past mistakes. The young lady realizes that she has no time left at all, since her mother is already getting ready to leave. Connie, surprised, asks the lady why she is running like that, and offers to go with her. The girl turns to her mother and asks her to wait, and then grabs her hand. And at that time, I thought that she was mistaken, and therefore does not want her to leave her, because now she has come to her senses, and will definitely listen to everything. The daughter did not want her to leave, and just wanted her to stay next to her. The lady asks her daughter what happened, and at this time she does not understand whether she will be able to hold this woman. The young lady wonders if her mother was ever happy in this house, and then tells the woman to divorce her father, and at that moment, I thought about how that was the first thing she fixed. As a result, an awkward atmosphere hung in the air, and the girl thought that maybe it was because she had returned 10 years ago, because all this time they had lived far from each other like strangers, and she wondered if it could be that her mother was also nervous just like her. The daughter asks why she doesn't get a divorce. The mother replies that she wanted to take responsibility for her choice, because her relationship with this man ended a long time ago, and she promised herself that she would not leave this house, at least until she became an adult. The lady reports that she understands why her daughter was not allowed to come to her coming-of-age ceremony, as it is natural that she felt abandoned when she was told that she was leaving. The woman reminds that she told her not to appear in front of her. Hearing this, the main character does not understand what the hell she did in the past, and then asks for forgiveness. Lara says that she has a question, and then says that if God appeared and said that she could send her to the past, she became interested in whether her mother would return. The Duchess says she wouldn't do that, and the young lady asks in surprise, why? The lady explains that she has something valuable, and then touches her daughter and strokes her. She invites Lara to come to her at any time when she is having a hard time, because now that she is an adult, she no longer needs to obey her father. The Duchess says it doesn't matter and let her do what she wants. The girl sitting in the Marquis of Bailey's estate reflects on the fact that it is actually even better that her mother left, because it will now be very noisy in the Bailey mansion, and she understands that she does not need to drag her mother there. The young lady remembers that in her previous life, where she destroyed her own destiny, she remembers that her mother asked her to stop while it was not too late, because no matter what happened, she would protect her. However, Lara then said that it was not necessary, because she had read that she could handle it herself, and laughed at the one who gave her sincere advice. The princess understands that she died before her parents, and thinks that she was probably the worst daughter on earth because she just thought that she was a scary and strict person. But when she remembers those days, she understands that she was a loving mother, and therefore, it was not easy for her mother to turn away from the one to whom she opened her heart. The Duchess is a strong person who was rather strict with herself than with others, and the young lady understands that she is not retraining at all, because her mother was always on her side, and no matter what mistakes she made, even when everything was irreparably ruined, Mom was the only one who extended a helping hand to her, and Lara understands that she is lucky that now she can say that she loves her. The maid asks the mistress what she is doing, and then informs her that the artist is already here, and she needs to get ready quickly. The main character looked at the dress and thought that today was the day when she needed to draw a portrait and send it to the prince. Connie says that her hair will be neatly tied and covered with a veil, then reminds her that she said she had to look beautiful. The maid says that she will paint her skin white and draw the corners of her eyes a different color. The maid says something about how she wanted her lips not to be too red. She uses a light pink color. The lady screams and says that she doesn't want to, and then suggests taking a red dress, and the color should be so saturated that it resembles a red liquid. When the artist saw the main character, he looked at her in surprise, and the lady asks to draw her like this, and not to add or distort her, but just draw her as she sees. The man smiled and said that he understood her, and then got to work. The maid brought tea to the mistress and asked her to drink it. And at that time the main character thought that noble women of Otana do not wear red dresses, because it is believed that red clothes are preferred by those who do not hold a high position. Lara thought that Prince Sidhar was a man with a specific sense of taste, and she believed that he would never be interested in a portrait of a lady in such an outfit, and could only think that Marquis Bailey was unlucky with his daughter. The girl thought that she was now 19, because she thought that this was her perfect time, because she had returned not too late, but not too early, and she had returned before the prince knew about her. The young lady thought that if she avoided him for some time, he would not be visible on the horizon in the near future, and she realized that she needed to move confidently because there were many things that needed to be resolved before she met him. The maid turns to the mistress and says that she is very nervous because she thought that her mistress was so quiet and conservative and would never have thought that she would go to a place like the arena. Lara claims that she also never thought that she would come to such a place. Connie says that she thinks that the sun rose in the west today, and she will experience even more surprise than now. However, the mistress suggests that she go, and the maid asks in surprise what she will do when the marquise finds out. The main character tells her not to worry about it, because she thinks that something like that won't make him scold me. And then she says that if she doesn't want to go with her, she can stay here alone. The maid thought that it would be better for them to go together, and when they entered the arena, the lady was surprised because she realized that it was quite spacious there than she thought. Connie tells the lady to look at the history of this month's battles. The lady tells the maids that she should at least go out into the light sometimes, since she always sits at home. The maid asks if she really wants to buy fish, and also wonders why so suddenly. The lady says that she needs to find someone. Damian rode Drake. He was a slave who came to Autan from the Estragon Empire, and even the Imperial Knights could not defeat him. And therefore he received the nickname of the King of Criminals, because in the distant future, the wars of the lawless region chose him as their king, a man who received the title of Lord, and also a man who experienced great misfortunes because of her. After all, when he lived as a slave in the arena of Otana, he was accused of a ridiculous crime. Then Lara confidently said that he was clearly a spy sent by the Empire, who pretended to be a slave and hid his true identity, and he stole information from the nobility of Otan. The main character accused him without even knowing that it was all a lie because the prince asked her to do it. And he was accused of sins that he did not commit, and he became a slave of the Prince of Sidhar. And in addition, he also went to war, but his misfortunes did not end there. A man who does not serve God, what can he do against the devil? Because he uses powers that are not God's. Because of her words, Damian spent his entire life being judged and persecuted by the temples and the empire because of her lies. But even so, he did not blame her. The guy says he has a question, and then asks if, when he returns victorious from this battle, will she stop hating him. The girl remembers that this was his first question, and the second time it was the same question, repeating it several more times. He asked if she was going to make a false promise again this time. Daniel wondered why she hated him so much, and after asking this, he left the Otan that same night. Lara understands that judging by what she heard, the comrades who were with him on the field helped him avoid the battle. However, she wonders why he did not blame her, because she was his enemy and he had enough opportunities to do so. The young lady reflects on how she never hated him and thinks that if she had told him that it was just an order from the Sidar prince, the main character thought that there was no time to tell the truth or dispel doubts because he had given up after so many false answers. Milady looked at the guy and thought that she had found him. The maid turns to the mistress and suggests that she step aside and go inside. Lara asks if she can find out if this guy is up for auction today. Connie, surprised, asks if she is talking about this worthless slave. Hearing this, the main character thought that he was able to kill everyone present right now, and the maid says that there are other slaves who are beautiful, but the girl looked at her so that she agreed. The young lady looked at the guy who was sitting in the cage and thought that she never hated him, and thought that maybe she won't be able to atone for all her past sins, but unfortunately she won't even be able to tell him the whole truth. The Duchess thought that in this life at least, she would not leave him alone, because she was sure that she would not repeat the same mistake. The maid reports that this time he came this morning, and they don't know yet when they will put him up for auction. And if after he is washed, he looks normal, then he will be sent to the tournament. Connie says that they say if no one likes him, he will be sent to the mine, and that is why she feels sorry for him. Hearing this, Lara thought that she felt sorry for the people who were transporting this man, because they understood that he needed to do something here, and that's why he allowed them to grab him. Otherwise, with such skills, he would never have fallen into their hands. Connie is surprised and says that it's even more luxurious inside. The lady in the pink dress turns to Lara and asks where this country bumpkin is from, and her friend says that she looks tasteless and doesn't understand that, with her hair, it's like straw. Hearing this, the maid suggests that the mistress come next time, but the mistress objects and says that everything is fine because she considers these ladies quite nice, and then asks what she thinks they will do to her because she thinks that all they can do is whisper from afar. The main character thinks that they are just like grumpy aunties, and the main thing is that she hasn't done anything yet, and then says that it doesn't matter because she's not a child, and everything is fine. Connie says that before the day of the coming-of-age ceremony, she was a child, and then wonders who will say that she is little now. However, even if she is an adult, anyone can be hurt by bad words addressed to him. The host tells the ladies that the match is about to start, and the lady suggests going faster because she can't wait, and that's why she's gone so far that she can't go back like this. The main character thought that by a lucky chance she met Damian right after she returned to the past, and therefore knows that she will become his supporter. The man says that before today's game, he will give them some information because they are currently taking care of the newly arrived slaves, and so he suggests not to leave immediately after the game, but to inform them of his choice. Lara thought that these ladies are in disarray because they want to become the most popular hostess, and this must be their desire. The man says that now is the first match, and the best clients of their arena are the great battle between the warriors of Lady Suivy and Lady Dwan. After all, the honor of the hostesses is at stake, and then asks who will become the strongest warrior of the month. The host says that a kiss goes to the winner and a sharp whip goes to the loser. The maid asks the mistress who will win, and she answers that the warrior lady is a double hearing. This the maid is surprised and asks how she knows this. The lady replies that he is wearing more luxurious clothes and has a more expensive sword. In a few minutes, there was already a winner, and he approached his mistress and kissed her hand. Seeing this, Connie says that she doesn't even know what to do with herself, and then asks Milady if she saw this. At this time, Lara thought that anyone who sees her will think that it was she who was kissed, and she wondered when he would come out. The man turns to the ladies and asks if they all know how auctions are run. He explains that the contract is renewed every 6 months, and the slave will be sold to the lady who bids the highest, and then suggests they begin. The ladies began to bargain, and almost all the slaves were sold, and only a rare species remained in the autumn. The host says that he has black hair, and then asks the ladies if they have ever distinguished such a color. The aristocrats say that he is too skinny and stooped, and needs to be washed because he is sloppy, and even his clothes are inappropriate. and therefore they think that it is not worth spending money on him. Lara turns to the maid and tells her to buy this guy. Hearing this, the maid asks in surprise why, and the lady explains that she wants to be friends with him. Connie asks if the mistress is sick, and then touches her body and says that there is no temperature, and then she claims that no matter how curious a person is, you can't be friends with a slave, and thinks that it would be better to go to the night ball. The young lady asks if she knows what this place is. The maid replies that it is a place where one finds a lover for one night to ease one's loneliness. The lady says that this is enough, and then gives her money, and says that she can spend as much as she needs, and therefore should buy it. Connie says that she gives 2 gold pieces, and as it turns out, no one else gave her. The man says that this slave is sold, and the mistress praises her and says that it is a good job. Lara reflects on the fact that she bought the man who will become the king of crime for only 2 gold pieces. At this time, Damian, being in his room, thought that despite the fact that he intentionally did it to look unsightly, he was still bought, and especially for only 2 gold coins. The guy thought that this was not enough to buy even a shabby longsword, and he never thought that he would be treated like this. The slave saw the maid of the lady who bought him, and she said that since he had become a great warrior of her lady, then let him take this. And at that time the men brought a box in which there was a weapon. The guy asks in surprise what it is, and the maid says that they will see each other soon, and then leaves. Damian opened the box, smiled, and thought that he wanted to see this woman right now. The next day, the maids turn to the mistress and say that she really looks like an angel, and think that the prince must be the happiest man in the world because he is loved by such a wonderful girl like her. The maid says that even when their lady becomes a queen, she asks not to forget them. The mistress says that of course she will take them all to the royal palace, and then says that if they want jewelry, let them take it. After that, the young lady went to her father, but the master objects and explains that their maids cannot become maids of the royal palace. And the daughter, surprised, asks if there is no other way out, but the master refused her. At this time, the main character remembered that she had already said that she would take them with her, and if she said honestly that she couldn't, then they might not understand her, and thought that this was stupidity, because they were just words. The lady overheard the conversation of the maids, who said that they felt sorry for the prince, because their mistress did not even know the world, and they wondered if she could even be such a saint. The maid says that if such a princess could become a saint, then she could certainly be much better. Lara looked at the maids and thought that this was how it had been. The maids tell the lady that they are done cleaning, and the lady says that since they are done, they should leave. Hearing this, the maids are surprised, and the lady asks if they heard what she said. The servant turns to her friend and says that she does not understand what the mistress ate today because she is very angry, and the maid explains that not long ago she gave them pocket money and treated them to snacks. Lara asks why they are standing, and then tells them to leave, and only suggests that Connie stay. The maids don't understand that this has never happened to her before, and they are surprised. Connie asks the lady if she is disappointed with the maids, and she says no, and the maid says that is a lie. The main character understands that in any case, all this is in the past, and all people are selfish, and the maids were simply true to their nature. And the problem of the maids is not so important, but the fact that sooner or later the Prince of Cedar will approach her. Connie turns to the lady and says that she will help her comb her hair. The girl understands that even if he doesn't like her portrait, he will need the Marquis Bailey, and she understands that it is better not to meet him at all. Lara turns to the maid and asks if she said that she wanted to leave and live separately. Would her father allow her to do so? She says no, because she thinks that he would rather lock her up to keep her near him, since the Marquise's mood has become terrible since Madame left the mansion. The young lady understands that in social circles, older daughters are treated as political commodities, and understands that it is natural that he will not let her go. The maid asks when she will visit this slave, since the day has passed, and the mistress is interested in whether there is anyone who visits the arena every day, and she will go there when she gets bored. The main character thought that her goal is to help Damian, and not to become a daring lady mistress. She wonders what she should do to escape from the hands of the prince and father. The Marquis Bailey was a man who attached great importance to the glory of power and the opinions of others. Despite the fact that all the family's wealth was earned by her mother, he did not recognize her contribution, and even considered her own business frivolous. The father insisted to his wife that nobles should not be traitors, and he always said such nonsense. And the young lady understands that the prince is very similar to him, because he needs a well-built woman who can strengthen his name. Lara thinks about what these two people have in common, that they did not like the wasteful women who are always on other people's lips, and she does not understand what she should do to become a woman opposite to their demands. Connie asks again when she will visit this slave, because the day has passed. Hearing this, the main character realized that she is not a villain disguised as a saint, and she thinks that she just needs to show them what a real villain looks like. In Lara's room, a few minutes ago, the maid informs the mistress that there is a tournament today, and he will be there. The young lady says that she didn't know Damian would be entering the competition so soon, and that she needs to meet with the designer after that. The maid suggests that the lady first meet with the designer, because the clothes she is wearing now are casual, and if she will wear something like this. Lara interrupts her and claims that it's okay because it will wait a little while and she will make her beg her to go back to normal clothes. At this time, Milady thought that, at the moment, she had accumulated 2,000 gold pocket money, which she wanted to generously invest. Connie looked at the lady and thought that she was very strange. When they came to the arena, the maid offers the mistress to see that today all the ladies have come too. She asks if she is ashamed of her. Connie claims that she is not ashamed, and then asks if she is comfortable like this. The lady replies that she feels fine, and at that moment, she thought that even without listening to them, she can tell what they are gossiping about, because they are gossiping, and her sloppiness and lack of manners. The host announces that this is the first competition of the day, and the great warrior Lady Dwan and the great warrior Lady Bailey, and they will fight for the honor of their mistresses today. Hearing this, the lady was surprised, and Connie said that this was the same one who won last time. At this time, the main character thought that he was in big trouble, because for this person, all this is just a game, and she thinks that this guy probably doesn't even know how to fight. Lara reflects on the fact that Damian is not playing, because he is the man who only knows how to win, and the great warrior Lady Dwan will die. The slave turns to the Lady Dwan and gives her a flower, and then says that she is his beautiful mistress, like the morning dew, and therefore he longs to bring her victory in this duel. The host suggests to begin. The lady with red hair says in surprise that she has never seen such a fight before, and the main character thinks that it would be good if there were no injuries, and everything would have ended with a simple fainting spell because her slave did not use the sword. In a few minutes, the host announces that the great warrior, who exudes a frightening aura, and his mistress Lady Bailey, and then announces that these are especially long-awaited moments in the arena, and the great warrior presents victory to his mistress. Daniel throws down his sword, and then approaches Lara, and tells her that he dedicates his victory to her, and kisses her hand. He asks her name. Milady asks for forgiveness, and then says that she is going to kiss him now. And after the kiss, she thought that it was great, even though she had not originally intended to do it. The main character realized that for kissing a slave in such a public place, she would now be treated in social circles as a wasteful troublemaker, and it was only a matter of time before this news reached her father's ears. The guy looked at her in surprise, and then said that his name was Damian. He took her in his arms and hugged her, and at that time, Lara was surprised because she did not understand what to do, because she thought to make a slight scandal, and now after that, she will become a dissolute woman. The lady went to Damian's room and thought that now she probably became known as a very vulgar woman. But she understands that she did not want to use this guy in this way, and she wonders what he was thinking about. The Marquise asks why he kissed her. The young man replies that it was because he wanted to, and wonders if there needs to be a reason for this. She asks in surprise what he wants from her, and thinks that she does not understand why he acts so recklessly, as if he really desires her. Damian says he doesn't know what he wants because he's never made this kind of decision before, and that's what it's like to be a slave. Hearing this, the main character thought that she was like that too. And in the past, she didn't even know what she really wanted, because she did what she was ordered to do, and the man who was born a slave and lived on the battlefield. And although she was born into a noble family, she didn't have freedom, and therefore understands that they were terribly similar. Lara turns to the guy and asks if he wants to live, and he, surprised, asks if they are not alive now, and then says that if he dies, he will not be able to do anything. The girl asks where he wants to go, and if there is anyone he would like to meet, and also whether he wants to start a family or take revenge. However, the guy assures that she asked all these questions inadvertently, and that none of this interests him. She asks why he came to the Otan. Then, the young man replies that someone told him that he could earn a lot of money by being a slave in the arena. Hearing this, the lady thought that everything was said honestly, except for the last one. However, she understands that this will not change the meaning, because the main thing is that he is happy. The Marquise says that she will pay the ransom, and he will be free. He asks the lady how about becoming his mistress for the next 6 months, and also wonders if he is not a slave to be proud of. Having heard this, the main character does not understand what he has in mind and what kind of proposal this is, and understands that if you think about it, he probably means the title of mistress, and thinks that this will be a good reason for meetings. The girl thought that when he gets closer, he will understand that her enemy is a prince, and understands that this requires a little time. But until that moment, no matter what he wants, she must give him everything. Lara says that if he wants to go out, he should let her know at any time, even when he needs something. The maid reports that someone came from the mansion, and the Marquis was very angry and ordered to repaint the portrait and return back immediately. Hearing this, the lady thought about what it meant that he didn't know that she was in the arena, and then turned to the guy and told him to be careful, because her father could order his people to deal with him, because rumors would definitely spread because of today. Damian asks what's wrong with him finding out, and also wonders if it's a bad thing. She explains that rumors tend to grow the more they are exaggerated, and others probably thought they had a very deep relationship, and the same goes for her father. The guy says that this is a deep relationship, and she suggests that he be careful. The young man asks if her father has a swordmaster, a mage, or a knight devoted to his family. She replies that they don't have such people, and Damian wonders how he can finish him off then. And then he claims that he will not die, and touches her hair and calls her his mistress. The lady says that it's time for her to go, and also tells him not to call her that because she has a name, Lara, and if he wants to, he can call her Lady Bailey. The guy agreed with her and then showed a bag of money. Seeing this, the girl does not understand when he managed to do it, and she thinks that he is a slave who takes care of his own needs, and therefore now she does not even know what to pay attention to first. The lady tells him to buy clothes first, and he asks when she will come again, and if it will be soon. The lady replies that she will see how it goes. When the young man was left alone, he thought that, first of all, he needed to calm down, because without a hometown, without parents, without a name, he lived and learned to fight on the battlefields of the Estragon Empire. Damian learned spearmanship from a knight, fencing skills from mercenaries, and was able to study the tactical planning of a respected general. There were people who recognized his talent in the process, but without joining anything, he lived as a wandering slave for 24 years. And even when he drinks, he does not get drunk. Even when he sees a beautiful woman, he will not pay attention to her, And this is the same as not being interested in money, power, or fame. The guy thought that there was nothing that he wanted to do or achieve, but he believed that this woman, Lara, was different, and he wanted to know her name, the one who came to the arena without being interested in her. Damian wonders why she was looking at him so warily, because this was definitely their first meeting, and he wonders why she seemed so familiar to him, and why she was looking at him as if she knew him well. The guy thinks that he is going crazy with curiosity and wants to meet again soon, and he understands that this is the first time he feels this way, and therefore wants her to come back as soon as possible. When Lara went out for a walk, the lady suggested looking at this shameless face, because if she were in her place, she would want to fall through the ground, because she doesn't understand how one can be so careless as to kiss a fish in front of everyone. The woman says that she is the daughter of the Marquis Bailey, and her friend said that she was known for her excellent manners, and therefore does not understand how this girl could change so much, and also suggests that maybe they even slept together. The lady asks if they have seen the body of this slave, because she is sure that she bought him only to have fun at night, and it looks like they have already had fun. At this time, the main character thought that finally this is the very opportunity, and if their gaze soared, that languages are like birds, and over time the rumors will become even more exaggerated and inflated, and if this happens a few more times, then she will be called an incorrigible dirty woman. Lara turns to the maid and assures that everything is fine, because she believes that they are probably chatting out of envy about whatever comes to mind, without filtering their speech, and she understands that she took such a slave, and they are simply jealous. The lady says that if they want to continue gossiping behind her back, then go ahead and sing, because she believes that they won't dare say it to her face anyway, and besides, it won't make her slave ugly, but it will make her more famous. The main character thinks that it would be good if they said directly that they are jealous. Lara saw the knight and thought that he was sent by her very angry father to keep an eye on her, because in the eyes of others, it would look like he was caring about his beloved daughter, and one way or another, she felt much better after what she had done. The next day, the father tells his daughter that the artist has been fired and suggests that she throw away this vulgar dress because he has called in another artist and designer. The Marquis tells her to never go to a place like the arena again, because as soon as people start talking about something, her reputation will instantly fall, and then suggests that she attend embroidery or reading clubs instead. Father tells her that in 3 days in the morning she must be in the temple, because the Prince Sidar will appear there, and she must dress covered and hide her face under a veil and pretend to pray all night in front of the statue. And then he tells her that he bribed the priest, and he will remain silent. At this time, the girl thinks about the fact that it was not enough to make her the one that the prince would like to attract his attention, and he also tries to turn the situation to his advantage, and even bribe the priest to lie. The Marquise asks if she understood, and then asks why she doesn't answer. The girl turns to her father and says that she doesn't want to marry the prince, and he asks in surprise what else that means. Lara explains that everything is as she said, and her father knows that the prince is a terrible egoist and just trash. Hearing this, the man tells her to stop being stupid, because he thinks that by taking such a step, she is trying to emulate that ungrateful woman. The main character thought that it wasn't enough for him to insult her, and he also insulted her mother. At this time, the butler enters the room and tells the Marquise that he has something to tell him. Lara thought that, judging by the expression on his face, it looked like it was about the incident in the arena, and therefore she thought it was better to deal with everything at once. The father asks in surprise what this means, and if it is true. The daughter claims that she said it was true, and she slept with a slave. Hearing this, the Marquis could not restrain himself and hit her, then screaming. He asks how she dared to tarnish his name. He orders her to go to her room and not to dare take a step from there until he gives her permission. The Marquis turns to the servant and tells him to make sure that the lavier does not leave the room, and that anyone who serves her food or speaks to her will be thrown out. The father says that the slave she spoke of earlier must be destroyed without leaving even a trace, and then gives bail. The main character thought that it was okay to starve because she was used to it, but it was a little upsetting, and she wondered if she should at least start a suicide hype or if she should bribe the knight. The lady understands that as soon as this matter is over, she will definitely leave this house. Connie turns to the lady and asks her to open her eyes and then asks how she is. Lara asks in surprise how she got here, and the maid explains that Madame arrived. And in the morning, she came and scolded the master, and she was so angry because her daughter was starved for 3 days. The maid reports that Madame slammed the table and then hit him. She frowned so that her eyebrows almost collided with each other, and then the lady suddenly extended her hand to the secretary so that he would bring the divorce papers. Connie explains that it was a quick decision, as if she had prepared for it in advance, and the lady took the documents and quickly left. The maid asks the lady if she is hungry, and then says that she brought her some food because the lady has taken care of everything, and therefore offers her to eat without worrying about anything. Lara thought that she hadn't eaten for so long that she didn't even realize that she was hungry. And as soon as she saw the food, she realized that now was not the time to eat because she was wondering where her mother was. The maid says that her mother is in the Marquise's office. Hearing this, the lady thanks him and then says that she will eat it later because she wants to go to her mother. At this time, the main character thought that she was not worried about her mother's safety because her father would not choose the path of rivalry with her, and she was only interested in one thing. Why did her mother change her mind? Because then she definitely had no intention of divorcing her father. The Marquise screams and asks if she is crazy and why she is talking about divorce papers. The lady claims that she is sane and that he not only locked her daughter up, but also hit her. The woman claims that she cannot leave her daughter in the house of a man like him for another second, and then says that she will take her with her and offers him to sign documents. At this time, the main character thought that she should protect her mother, and the butler turns to her and asks her to return to her room and pack her suitcases, but the girl objects and says that she must stop her father, and the man insists that everything is fine and that she should trust her mother. Connie asks the mistress to pack her things, and Lara asks what exactly she told her mother. The maid replies that she said that the Marquise not only hit her, but also locked her up and starved her like in prison. The mistress asks if she said why the father did it, and the maid answers that she already knew the name of the slave Damian, and she knows that they bought him for 2 gold pieces. Hearing this, the main character realized that she did not suddenly decide to get a divorce. And it seems that she initially wanted this, but held back, but does not understand why now. The girl suggests that it is possible because she told her about it, and she was probably worried that her daughter would blame her for the reason for their divorce, both in this life and in the previous one. Lara left with her mother, but she was wondering if Connie would be okay. Mom asks for 2 gold pieces, and the daughter asks if she is talking about this. The lady interrupts her and claims that everything is fine, and then asks how she knew about the value of the slave. At this time, the main character thought that Lara, whom her mother knows, is an obedient child who does not pay any attention to such things. However, one day she suddenly turns into a completely different person. The girl thought that now she is not trying to avoid this because it is difficult to talk about it, but she needs to choose the right words and appear as someone who wants to rise even higher despite other successes, or appear as someone who has deep wounds, and that all this is just an inept defense. The Marquise asks when her daughter managed to grow so much and also wonders what happened. Lara says that she admired the prince, but now she knows that he only wants to take the throne and is ready to do anything for this, and the same applies to her father because he will give everything so that the prince becomes king. The young lady understands that even if this means following her against her will, depriving her of freedom and desires packing her like a doll, and that is why she did so, becoming a vulgar and dirty woman, because she wanted to prevent this. The main character says that the father is not one of those people who would accept the fact that their child has another loved one, and at that time, she thought that this is such a reckless plan, and thinks that she will be scolded. The mother says that she raised her, and the daughter asks in surprise if she will scold her. The woman asks why scold her, and then says that someone else's opinion is nothing, and she is the one who will support her and believe in her. The Marquise gives her a purse with money and says that since she left all her things in this world, where everything costs money, Lara saw 2,000 gold coins and was surprised. And the Marquise said that she did not approve of her method because no mother would like someone pointing a finger at her child. The girl asked for forgiveness, and the woman says that she will not interfere with her or do something her own way when she may have a better plan, and therefore suggests that she should not be afraid of trivial things because she is an adult and old enough to kiss, and then asks what difference does it make that her beloved is a slave. Mom says that her first kiss was with a waiter, and she was 15 then, and therefore she will not object to any rumors that arise if she only values herself. The lady wonders how she will be different from her father if he controls her every move. Hearing this, the girl thanked her mother. When Lara saw the mansion, she was surprised because it was even better than Bailey's mansion, and then asked if she could just come in. The lady says that the introduction is late and that Sebastian is mother's secretary. The maid asks the mistress in surprise if this is all she has, then looks at her 2 suitcases and says that she deliberately left the 2 wardrobes empty. Mother says that then they need to buy new ones, and the secretary tells the girl that he will take her to her room. At this time, the main character thought that this mansion was full of life, and she did not want to rush to explore it, and she had plans for the evening. Connie asks, what if this slave died? And the lady explains that that's why she goes there, because she wants to find out about everything. And she thinks that if he wasn't alive, they would have contacted her already. The young lady reflects on what Connie thought that she, and of course her father, did not let her go so easily. Suddenly, the man turns to the Marquise and says that he was waiting for her because he could not send someone to her house and therefore waited. She asks why, and also wonders if it was because of the attack. The man says he won't be interested in that, and then says the slave is safe, and they have also brought in extra security personnel to ensure her peace of mind. The man says that moreover the warriors are going crazy, and the number of those wishing to duel has reached several dozen in these 3 days. Even slaves from competing establishments lined up, and the ransom price soared to 300 gold. The lady was surprised to hear this because she bought it for only 2. The guy asks what he should do because the decision about duels or sending to auction is within the authority of only the owner. She suggests setting a date for the duel as soon as possible. Lara says that she will discuss this with Damian and therefore will go to him and talk about it at the same time. When Damian saw the girl, he was surprised and then asked who hit her. He said that she had a wound on her lip and also wondered why her cheeks were swollen. The guy takes the girl by the waist and then lifts her up and offers to go and talk to her. At this time, the main character realized that another sweet scandal had been added to the piggy bank. The main character says that she heard that there was an attack and therefore is waiting for an explanation. He claims that there is nothing special about it and that there were 3 attacks in total, as a result of which 5 people died. The lady asks if he has such methods and does not think that the attacks were too serious. He replies that they were all confused, but he is fine. The girl looked at him and then asked what was wrong with him. The guy answered that it was done by a man called her father. Hearing this, the girl thought about it, and he said that he guessed, and then asked if he was going to kill him. Lara claims that everything is fine, because this is not what she wants, and today they need to go somewhere else. She says that they will go to a night ball, and it will be a party that is held by the highest nobility for the nobles in different places every night. And the main character says that the door is always open, as if everything is put on display, and sometimes it is held secretly, only for those who have an invitation. At private parties, there is even a special room for lovemaking. If the arena is a perverted playground for aristocratic girls whose entertainment is only a beginner level, Then the night ball is a space several levels higher. Lara says that they will dance together, and then he will take her to the exit of the hotel in the city center because she wants to become the most vulgar woman in the whole Ottoman. Hearing this, the guy agreed in surprise, and she said that she was glad that they were able to come to an agreement and believed that they needed to prepare carefully. A girl and her boyfriend come to a luxury boutique in a shopping mall. She turns to the saleswomen and tells them to forget that she is a noble lady and to give her the most luxurious and eye-catching clothes because she is going to wear this dress to a night ball. The woman offers to take her to the VIP lounge and then asks what kind of dress she is looking for. The main character explains that the dress should not have any white color and it should not be too revealing, but this dress must captivate absolutely everyone. The saleswoman asks if they can replace the ribbons with real flowers. In this case, upon hearing this, the maid asks in surprise, "What other flowers?" because she understands that if the mistress steps on them during the dance, she might fall. The worker asks what about the dress she is holding in her hands, since it is quite revealing, and asks if she would like to try it on. Connie asks in surprise if she really wants to wear it, as she realizes it's too ladylike. Damian asks in surprise if she is going to dance there as well, and therefore suggests that it is better not to take heavier dresses that will make it difficult to move. Hearing this, Lara thought that this was a very practical idea, and then asked the guy if he was good at dancing. He said that he could repeat after the others once he saw them. The lady says that's great, and then tells him that she will choose his clothes. She wants a low-cut shirt that exposes his chest to the solar plexus, and tight leather pants would be fine. The lady suggests that he wear boots that reach up to his calves and a tie that can be tied loosely or left hanging, and preferably a red lining. Hearing this, the guy says that it will be too hot for him, and the lady says that the coat is for the next stage. He asks in surprise why the coat, because he understands that he should not wrap himself up but undress. Lara suggests that he don't worry because this is to remove him in the process. Damian says that you need to show your muscles, but the girl thinks that he is more attractive when he is naked than when he is dressed. Hearing this, the maid does not understand, since when her lady became good at this kind of thing. Connie asks the lady if she really wants to go there, and then says that the color is too vulgar, and the shadows and music are in the same style, and the food will definitely taste the same. Lara wonders what she is talking about, and then turns to the guy and suggests that he always be by her side because she thinks that someone might attack him. The main character says that she heard that slaves must ask their mistress's permission to talk to someone, and believes that there will still be people who want to start an argument or seduce one of them. At this time, Damian looked at her and thought that she looked like a cat, and then he claims that he understood everything and invites her to come in. The young lady thinks that they danced beautifully, and she thought that if she showed up with Damiano, that would be enough. However, everywhere there are only drunks looking for a fight. Foul language is constantly in the air, and uneaten food is thrown on the floor. The presence of substances, similar to drugs, and much more. And the main character realized that her actions were just a child's play, but unpleasant glances continue to fall on her. The guy asks the girl how she is. Lara replies that it is hard for her to enjoy such things, and he suggests leaving if it is hard for her. Lady Dwan tells the Marquise that she is good at drinking, and then tells her that they say there is no class discrimination in this ballroom, and she wonders if it is too much to bring a slave here, but thinks he is special. Lara turns to them and says that they could just say that they are jealous, and since they don't have money to buy slaves, she can lend them some. Hearing this, Madame smiled, and the main character asks, "What's funny?" Damian explains that since she started acting like a villain, he has become more sensitive, and then asks the girl if he should help her. The young man says that she will not become the most dissolute woman of Otana if she is like that, and she asks what he wants to do. Then the guy answers that he himself does not know yet, but he is sure of one thing. he will not let her endure all this alone. The gentleman looked at Damian and asked if this was the guy accompanying the girl in slutty clothes. Hearing this, the young man kicked him in the face and then asked who he was staring at. The Duke turns to the guy and says that he is just trying to have fun, and when he saw that Damian was heading towards him, he got very scared because he had a bad feeling, and he was not mistaken because the guy hit him, and then a fight began. The Marquise asks him in surprise what he is thinking, and then grabs his hand to stop him being theirs. She tells him to run away from Autan and return to the Empire. Damian objects and says that he does not want to, and she asks if he wants to be executed. He turns to the lady and says that he is her great warrior and a creature who fights for her, and if she does not like something, no matter what it is, then he will get rid of everything. The young man says that's why she stocked up on tasty treats when she visits him in prison. The main character thought that she had never been reproached, even by her professor at the academy, but now she was in the investigative department of the police, and she became interested in what he was thinking about. The man asks if she is the daughter of the Marquise Belli, and also asks what kind of relationship she has with the captive slave. She replies that he is her warrior, and the policeman thinks that they can't be considered warriors, but rather lovers. The lady thanks him for the advice, and he tells her to sign that she renounces ownership of her slave Damian, and agrees that the slave will suffer the punishment he deserves for the crime he committed. The girl asks what kind of deserved punishment this is, and he explains that it is the death penalty. Lara claims that she will not do this, and if he wants to get a signature, then first let her meet with him. The man thinks that the young lady is acting as if she does not understand what is happening. The Marquise claims that she knows that he will not be able to force her to sign, and even knows that even if the criminal is a slave, he cannot be tried in a disciplinary manner as long as he has a master. The policeman screams and says that this slave is dangerous, and if everyone finds out about what happened in the banquet hall and about her presence there, it will be much worse. However, the lady assures that she doesn't care, and he then suggests that she come tomorrow afternoon and says that he sent a man to her house and that they will come for her soon. The main character says that there was no need for such mercy. A guy comes into the room and tells the lady that he came to pick her up and then takes her hand. He explains that the Marquis ordered him to bring her back and to watch over her safety. Lara claims that she is not going to come back, and at that time she thought that he would not help her if she bit her tongue and red liquid came out, and he would simply not even look at it and drag her by force. Lady Devon, seeing that the Marquise is in danger of turning to this guy, she orders him to let go of her hand. Then she asks what this new type of interrogation of witnesses is, and says that she is already furious, and therefore suggests not to anger her even more. Hearing this, the main character thought that they could just pass by and not interfere, and the lady asks how dare some servant drag the lady, the only daughter of the precious family of marquises, along with him, and then asks if he wants to lose his hands. Lara doesn't understand why they are standing up for her, and she wonders if they didn't hate her. The man apologizes and then explains that the Marquis told him to bring the lady. Milady, screaming, asks whether the noble Marquis Bailey treats his daughter like a dog, and wonders if he ordered her to be dragged back by force. The lady screams and says that the Marquis Bailey beat and did not let his daughter out of the room, and then asks if he has now ordered her to be kidnapped. The man asks for forgiveness and then says that they are leaving. The lady runs up to him and asks if he understands, and at that moment, the guy pushes the lady and she falls. Another lady asks if he is attacking nobles, and then calls the guards, and also asks what the security forces are doing. The lady with red hair turns to her friend and asks if she hit herself hard, and my lady says that she thinks she broke her leg. At this time, the man thought that anyone would understand that this was a game. Lady Dwan says that this is the last warning, and if he does not leave there, or takes Lady Bailey against her will, then she will spread rumors that he kidnapped her, beat her, and humiliated her. The woman claims that no matter how high-ranking a nobleman the Marquis is, he will not take his life into account. And then she approaches the chest and offers to go with them to her carriage. Lady Duan turns to the girl and suggests calling her Eunice and her friend Jimena. The main character says that her name is Lara, and Eunice says that she knows it because there are few people who don't know her in Otana. The Marquise wonders why they helped her. The lady explains that they are interested in her, but at first she irritated her because she was an exemplary student who was always praised, but suddenly she invaded their territory and even grabbed an attractive slave. Eunice says that the more she looked the stranger it seemed, and that kiss with the slave that attracted everyone's attention before, and she had nothing to do with him. The lady claims that she was wearing a red dress, and its color was considered vulgar, and she kept thinking what kind of vulgarity it was. And after the Marchioness went to the night ball, and it seems to enjoy it, but it does not seem that this was really the case. Eunice reports that she thinks she even felt disgusted there and asks if that is true, and then reports that in addition, her slave beat up an aristocrat, and this brought even more trouble. The lady says that if she wants to be a real villain, she will have to do bad things, and then asks why she does such things. Jimena asks the main character if she is doing this on purpose, because she understands that the Marquise is trying to force her into an absurd marriage of convenience. Lara asks, in surprise, how they found out about this. The lady replies that this is a common thing that can be behind such actions, and if she wants to get away from family pressure, she will immediately say that this is not enough. The aristocrat explains that her father was an overly passionate gambler, and when she found out that he had squandered her share of the inheritance left to her by her grandfather, she doused her father's entire bedroom with gasoline and set it on fire because she believed that this was better than cursing him. Eunice says that her mother always treated her badly, and one day she found out that she was her stepmother, that she seduced her father and threw her biological mother out on the street. Lady Duan says that she spent all her money throwing parties with everyone, and when she remembers it, she feels so happy and thinks that it was an amazing time. The aristocrats explain that they also quarreled with their families and with the people who surrounded them. Eunice says that they even tried to lock her in the temple's prayer room for the purpose of rehabilitation. And she heard that the Marquise once locked Lara, and then explains that there are no rumors that are not discussed at the night ball. Jimena says that if she is not ready to give up everything and hit the bottom, then the result of her actions can bring her a lot of pain, because no one will respect her. Hearing this, the main character thought that they were kind to the girl, and they had to become villains in order to survive. And in fact, they were not bad at all, because they even managed to get themselves dirty by falling to the ground for the sake of the girl who found herself in the same situation as them. Lara thought that if it had been in the past, she would not have been able to do this, and then she thanks the girls, because thanks to their words, she understood the main thing. The girl says that she should have started by feeling like her life was trash, but she didn't seem to pay attention to that. Then she says that she should renounce her last name and lose all her noble privileges, as well as throw away the identity and last name that she inherited from her father. The main character thought about the father in the house, without a wife and child, obsessively holding in his hands the power that will gradually disappear. He will meet his death alone, and she wants him to suffer alone for the rest of his life. The next day, Lara says that the nobles' limbs were broken, and their teeth were knocked out by a slave who had not received a single wound against a knight with a weapon. And the reason for this was his mad love for his mistress. The lady says that he doesn't like to show her to others, so much that he hits them with his aim, even at those who just look in her direction, and then asks what he thinks about these rumors that he created before he got here. Damian wonders if it is true what they say, that this lady is so beautiful and charming that the slave completely forgot about his status. Lara reports that more than a dozen people say that he should be executed, but he claims that this is not enough, and the girl asks what he is planning. The guy says that the crown prince of Tarragon can give immunity to responsibility. Hearing this, the lady was surprised. Damian explains that he once saved the crown prince in a war, and for this, he received immunity, and even the investigators most likely already know that his name is Damian Drake. Hearing this, the main character became curious whether Drake was not the last name he received, along with the title of Lord, when he became king of the lawless land. The Marquise says that if he has a last name, it means that he cannot be a slave. And then screaming asks why he pretended to be a slave all this time. He replies that he is too lazy to explain it. The young man says that for him slaves and commoners are the same thing as is dying on the battlefield or being executed. At this time, the main character thought that, in her past life, she treated Damian like a slave until he ran away, and therefore she understands that in this life, only she changed and the rest moved along their own path. The girl understands that this means that in the past, there was no reason to imprison him, and then asks in surprise why he did this, because she understands that he deliberately let himself be caught. The guy says that he has a question for her, and then asks if she always looked at him, as if she knew him perfectly well, but now she looks at him as if he were a stranger. The Marquise asks why he came to the hôtel. However, he remains silent. The investigator turns to Lady Bailey and asks her to come out, and then says that a man who introduced himself as her mother's secretary came here and did God knows what. The girl asks Sebastian what happened. He explains that naturally he is here to post bail for the fact that this slave protected the mistress. Otan is a weak kingdom, although it is not under the influence of the empire, but because of its weakness, it still makes its moves with caution. If the kingdom were to execute such a special commoner of the Estragon Empire, there would be a great risk of diplomatic friction between Autan and Estragon. Moreover, Isadora, whose enormous fortune has raised such a huge fuss that even the security forces cannot cope with all this now, and the order on Damian's case has already been passed on to the authorities. Sidar Otan, the king's eldest son, because of his outstanding abilities, if only a younger sister had not been born, who was better than him. Then the first thing the prince thought about, when he realized that he would fight for the throne, with his younger sister, who was 10 years younger than him. This is the empty place of a wife who can be used to become a king. The prince says that one way or another, it must be Lavier Bailey, and he does not understand why her name cannot be pronounced normally, and also asks if parents do not try to give their children popular names, and not such difficult ones. The butler explains that the Marquis Bailey is obsessed with aristocratic things, and he probably wanted to demonstrate his nobility with this long and complex name, and then says that in short, her name is Lara. Sidri wonders if the Marquis Bailey didn't say that he desperately wants to make his daughter a princess, and then asks in surprise why the portrait is like that, and whether the Marquis intends to turn the country into a kingdom of debauchery. The man explains that he said he called an artist to redraw the portrait, but because his daughter was not at home, nothing happened. His Majesty asks if she has run away from home. The butler explains that the Marquis is in the middle of a divorce from Isadora del Celestial, and that his daughter is said to have left with her mother. The prince thought that the Marquis of Bailey was a card that would be a waste to throw away because of the actions he had committed. Many aristocrats respected him. Sidri says that a close friend with whom he worked so much is getting divorced and is left penniless, and he simply cannot watch this, and then tells them to tell him to demand a fabulous sum of alimony so that the Marquise understands that she should not get divorced. The prince says to send a respected nobleman as a mediator between them, and he will also take part in this. Then they will not dare to behave arrogantly, because he will also invite them to a banquet that will take place in the near future. His Highness believes that this woman will eventually thank him. The assistant asks His Highness what to do with the slave. Sidri says to let him go and console the victims in Meru, because he thinks that they can't be proud of being beaten by a slave, and he thinks that from this moment on, the real battle for the throne will begin. and there should not be the slightest friction with the empire. Less than a week after his imprisonment, Damian was released. And in the meantime, Lara visited the prison twice a day with snacks. He tried dishes from all the best restaurants in the capital, and the main character thought that if she treated him to delicious food, he would not want to return to the arena. However, the girl does not understand why he goes there if he is not a slave. The guy replied that it is convenient there because they provide food, clothing, housing, and money. The main character thought that she would most likely need permission from her mother to bring him home. Mother says that he threatened to make her a beggar, and the prince is trying to stop her divorce and also advised her to ask for alimony. The daughter asks why he interferes in other people's family affairs, and the lady answers that it's all for the sake of her husband's power and her wealth, and believes that he did it because he needs their marriage for his political purposes. Lara understands that now her father is on the verge of bankruptcy because of money, and her mother tells her not to worry because she will solve this problem herself, because she believes that parents should solve their problems, and she is ready for the fact that she will not be able to get a divorce. The main character thought that this was a lie because she was angry, and unlike the last time, this time, she wanted to get a divorce at any cost. And it was clear why the prince decided to intervene and believed that even if she didn't know much, she needed to help her mother. Mother says that she will come as soon as she sorts things out completely. And if she needs more pocket money, then let her know at any time. But the girl claims that she has enough. Lara does not understand what will happen if it is best to reveal first, because the father will be strongly criticized, and it will be easier for the mother to get a divorce. She believes that criticism should be so that even the prince could not take his side. The girl thinks that it would be good if it was a solid and dirty mistake. However, she understands that her father has a very good reputation, but corruption and crime have polluted his personal life because he was in collusion with the Temple of Glory and caused discord among famous nobles. The Marquis Bailey sold fabricated information. He felt worse than his wife because her success was much greater. The man even stooped to sleeping with commoners who were only interested in his status and money. Lara is thinking that she will collect such obvious evidence that he will not get away with it, and she will reveal everything because her father will not receive a penny in alimony due to the divorce from his mother. Sebastian asks the young lady if she is taking a walk. The girl replies that she has something to think about, and he says that if she needs to discuss something, she should let him know at any time. The secretary gives the lady an invitation that was sent for her. The main character looked at the letter and realized that it was the emblem of the royal family, and the sender was Prince Sidar. Lara read that this was an invitation to a banquet in honor of Prince Sidar, and everyone said that this was a selection banquet to choose a candidate for the princess. The Marquise remembered that in her past life, she had not participated in that banquet, but in her father's opinion, she was supposed to be a woman he could only meet in the temple's prayer room and not in the banquet hall. After all, for her, at that moment it was the right choice, because the prince did not choose anyone at the selection banquet. The lady thought that now the most important thing that would happen at the banquet was not the selection of a candidate for the title of crown princess, but the attack of an assassin on Princess Sonnet. Lara became interested in how this could be prevented and whether she could correct this situation. Sebastian says that the lady does not have to go if she does not want to, but the lady objects and claims that she will go because she believes that the prince will not be interested in her anyway since she has another goal. The Marquise says she has a question and then asks if the mother is entitled to alimony, if the father is to blame for the divorce. The secretary says that it is. Hearing this, the girl thought that her father would have no choice but to sign the divorce papers because she personally contributed to this, but she thought that she needed to shame him a couple of times before that. The father wants to put the prince on the throne, and she saves the princess from trouble, and such a picture will appear before the eyes of society. People will talk about how the father and daughter support different candidates for the throne, and such betrayal will shock the father. Lara thought that she needed to prepare for the banquet. The ladies say that they came to help her choose clothes. But before that, Eunice needs to check something, and then asks Lara if she has money. The Marchioness showed her purse, and seeing this, the girls suggested that she go faster. Seeing these ladies, the woman said that they had not visited her for a long time, and she was worried that they were tired of her dress. Eunice turns to the lady and says that she is flattering them, and then announces that they have brought in another client. When the Marquise greeted the woman, she was surprised, and then asked if she would sew clothes for Isidora's daughter, and invited them to come in because she would do whatever their heart desires. The girl says that she would like something unusual and something amazing, and also crazy. The main character reflects on the fact that they had fun for so long, but she does not understand why. Every time she thinks about meeting this person, she gets nervous. The guy invites her to come in, and Lara, surprised, asks if her steps are so loud, and also wonders how he knows when she is coming. Daniel explains that it is because he was waiting for her. Hearing this, the lady thought that he was saying ambiguous things, and then said that she came here because she has proposals and may already be annoying him. The young man claims that nothing of the sort happened, and she thanks him for such kind words. Lara reports that a grand banquet will soon be held on the banks of the Tender River. This banquet is being hosted by the nobles who support Prince Sidar, and the princess also plans to attend this event. The main character says that the magician will try to kill the princess, and she would like to take him as an escort to the banquet. He asks in surprise if the princess needs to be saved. The Marquise explains that this is exactly what she wanted, because the princess will reward him generously, and although she is still young, she is very talented and smart. Daniel asks in surprise why he should do this. At this time, the main character thought that in the near future, the prince will use his abilities, and he will try to get him and use him. However, the girl believes that in order to avoid this, it is better to become a benefactor of the princess, who is his opponent, and he will also not be a slave who was used and then thrown away. After all, she wants to make him a hero that everyone will look up to. Lara thought about what she wanted to tell him, and then says that magicians are bad. He asks if she wants him to do this and save the princess in danger and crush the evil. The main character claims that this is exactly what she wants, and he agrees. And at this time, the lady reflects on the fact that since he does not ask questions, she thinks that he will definitely help, and she says that they have finished with business and therefore will see each other soon. The guy says that they will meet tomorrow. Damian looked at the window and saw the Marquise and thought that this woman knew him, and he couldn't believe that someone he didn't remember knew him so well. And he didn't know how this was possible, but he was sure that it was so. The young man reflects on the fact that ordinary people cannot sense his presence, and besides that, she also sensed the danger emanating from him, and realized that he was deliberately behaving stupidly. The guy thought that, as a gift, she even gave an expensive weapon that was not used in the arena. But at the same time, when she found out that he had immunity granted by the Crown Prince of Estragon, she was surprised as if this could not happen. Damian thought that before he doubted, but now he is completely sure that Lara knows him. Dark magicians are strong, and even an experienced knight will have a hard time finding and defeating such a magician. In particular, if he was sent to finish off a member of the royal family, then he must have outstanding skills. The young man thought that this didn't matter to him at all, because even black magic didn't work on him. And he wondered how she knew that he could easily defeat a magician, and he didn't understand, because she knew that a dark magician would appear at the banquet. Damian thinks that he is suspicious of her, but can't leave her, and he wonders if there is a more absurd case. He thinks that the strange feeling of loss that has haunted him all his life disappears next to Lara, and he thinks about her from morning to night. The guy understands that he continues to think about her and wait for her to come to him, and every time someone comes past the door, he listens to see if it is her, and he thinks that his people will die laughing if they find out that Lara knows about him. The gentleman turns to Damian and says that dark magicians have set their sights on the kingdom of Aten, and news has reached him that they have already firmly connected with the nobles, and since black magic does not affect him, he asks if he can go and find out what is happening there. The guy thought that the Prince of Tarragon had sent him, and he wondered if she knew that he was a spy. On the eve of the banquet, Eunice believes that all preparations are complete, and only one thing remains, and then announces that from this moment on, serious lessons begin. The girl thought about the fact that she put on glasses to look like a strict teacher and then asks about it, and also thanks for helping with all the preparations. The lady with black hair claims that her manner of speech is too soft, and such manner of speech should be thrown away far away, and not formal speech, and swearing should become her standard functions. Lara asks in surprise how she should start screaming. She answers that at least no one contradicts her, and at that moment, she thought that it was her turn. Ximena says that she will teach her to swear, and then screaming, she says that the swearing should have a sharp tone and intonation, and the facial expression should be menacing and serious. But the most important thing is to look natural. The lady with the red hair claims that she just said it that way, and that's how it works, and then suggests trying something else. Eunice believes that there is actually a more important thing than the manner of speech, and this is the facial expression, which is more effective than dozens of words. She says that this is facial expression because she is calm and knows how to ignore others. However, she thinks that this is too elegant and cold-blooded. The main character asks in surprise what she should do, and the lady claims that she needs to look down on them and ignore them, and also laugh at them and despise them. Ximena claims that she must be prepared to grab her enemy by the hair and make him cry. Lara asks if that makes sense. The morning of the banquet came completely suddenly, and the maid thought that the mistress was becoming stranger and stranger, but she liked it. Lara stopped by to pick up Damian on her way to the banquet, and when he got into the carriage, she said that there was something she wanted to say before leaving. The girl says that when she enters, people will start whispering and staring, so she suggests simply ignoring it. He agrees. The lady explains that it is against etiquette to bring a bodyguard into a banquet hall where members of the royal family are present, but she will say that she will not go anywhere without one because of her father's recent attempt to kidnap her. The guy asks, in surprise, what if they don't let her in? She says that it's not scary because she just needs him to be near the princess and save her at the right moment. The marquise says that they have already arrived and thinks that it looks like the royal persons have not yet arrived, and the young man invites her to go and then takes her hand. For nobles who had seen everything in their lives, this would be a minor incident, and she thought that the effect of her actions would end with her being slightly criticized by her peers. But the main character did not think that she would attract so much attention. Lara understands that even the slightest gestures will be subject to their assessment. And as she was told, there is no need to be afraid because she should behave naturally and freely. The girl thought that she should raise her head because in the past, she had to lower her gaze, thereby avoiding eye contact with others like a herbivore that does not know how to fight. After all, she was taught to tuck her tail and look down. The main character knows that she is not going to do this anymore, and now they will judge the new her, and she does not drink and does not swear like Eunice, and will not be able to do something that will cause a huge commotion like Ximena because she will go her own way. The marquise thought that at the moment when she remembers how she took the poison, she remembers how her insides melted from it, and what is happening now does not even come close to comparing with that. When the girl saw her father, she asked if he was begging his mother for alimony, and then said that she had heard that he was on the verge of bankruptcy, but that it was a bit ugly, and wondered if he thought the same thing, because he thought it looked pathetic. The marquis turns to his daughter and tells her to return home, And at that time the main character thought that she should not be afraid, because her father would never behave inappropriately in front of the nobles, and he would not raise his hand or yell at her, and she believes that she should take advantage of this. Father says that without her, this big house seems empty. Hearing this, the lady thought that he is brave, and then suggests not to say what he does not mean. Lavier suggests not to come closer, and then asks if he wants to hit her again. She reminds him that not only did he beat her and lock her in a room, but he also tried to kidnap her, and therefore believes that he is the one who now prevents her from going anywhere without an escort. The Marquis claims that he doesn't know what she's talking about, and then asks what bad thing her father did. Lara says that now she doesn't care about such things, and asks how long he is going to pretend that he doesn't know anything. Hearing this, the father tells her to shut up, and then raises his hand to hit her. But seeing the aristocrats, he changes his mind because they were watching him. The main character realized that he raised his hand out of habit, but apparently realized that this was not the right place, and therefore understands that if he hit her again, now everything would turn out just perfect. Lavier asks why he raised his hand and whether he wants to hit her again, and her father claims that she really does look like her mother. The butler announces that the members of the royal family have arrived. Damian wonders if she is saying that he should save the princess while being so far away, and the lady claims that it is better to avoid the Sidhar prince. He asks why surprised. The girl explains that her father is trying to make her his bride, and she doesn't know what good will come out of this meeting. The guy says that if she becomes a princess, and then asks if that means she is a future queen. Lara says no thanks, and she will pass this scam on to someone else. The young man wonders where the dark magicians will appear, and then looks at the people who are in the boats and asks if she thinks they are hiding there. The lady replies that she doesn't know, and at that time the guy thought that she was sure that the incident would happen, but she didn't know the details, and he became interested in what kind of boat they might be on. Lara asks if he will be okay without a weapon, and he asks, surprised, if she thinks he will lose. The lady claims that he will win, and he agrees with her. Damian asks if she wants him to be the hero who saves the princess and defeats evil. The girl replies that everything is correct, and he suggests that they meet later and then leaves. Suddenly, the main character was pushed, and she saw that this was a princess, and then she asked in surprise why she was here. Damian tells her not to move, and then covers the princess and the marquise with his cloak. Lara understands why all the knights who were guarding her arrived then, because they alone could not cope with the attacks of the dark magician. The guy thought that the shield would not help, and then saw the dark magician who used his power. He turns to the marquise and says that he is counting on her, and then jumps on the boat and knocks down the dark magician. At this time the main character watched him from the balcony and thought about what he caught, and it worked, but she became interested in what about other people. Lara realized that everything was okay with the people Damian protected. The princess turns to the lady and asks if she is hurt. The marchioness replies that she is not hurt at all, and then asks what about the princess and her knights. Her Highness claims that everything is fine, and then touches her. At this time, the main character thought that her hands were so icy and suggested that they go to a safe place together. Her Highness addresses the aristocrats and says that all the wounded must receive immediate medical attention. She will go first with Lady Bailey, and therefore asks to bring the ladies' knights to her room. Lara reflects that she was also a little scared, but now she knows what a princess is like. Her Highness tells the girl that she is very sorry that she dragged her into this, but believes that she should have left immediately because she thought that no one would be around. And the main character thought that thanks to this, she was able to save the princess, and then tells her not to be shy and just call her Lara instead of Lady Bailey. The maid turns to the princess and says that Lady Bailey's knight has arrived. Soneo Tan is a sweet and beautiful, kind and smart princess. They say that as soon as her mother gets sick, she immediately goes to look after her, and every morning goes to the king's office to greet him. Rumors about the princess are endless stories, and when a young maid made a mistake, Her Highness did not scold her, but treated her to sweets, and she is never lazy in her studies, and built a separate room for the knights. They say that Her Highness always tries to help the weak and simply adores children. The main character thought that perhaps these stories were exaggerated, but the princess bowed her head and thanked her. Lara reflects that she of course also thought that all these stories were rather exaggerated, but she turned out to be exactly as they said about her. Damian explains that he was simply trying to protect his mistress, and Her Highness claims that the two of them are her saviors, and therefore Father will reward them generously, because she does not want to just leave it like this, and then asks if there is anything they wish for. The guy says that if his mistress wants something, then it will be his wish too, and therefore asks to give the entire reward to his mistress. Having heard this, the main character does not know what to say now, because she believes that he should have received the award, and not her. Sitting in the carriage, Lara asks why he did this because he believes that the rewards given by the royal family are better than he thinks, and if he is lucky, he can even receive a noble title or the famous sword of the royal family. The man claims that he doesn't need it, and the girl says that many people have a bad opinion of him because of the latest incident with the attack. The main character believes that if he became the princess's benefactor, he would receive more positive attention, but he claims that there is no need for that either. Hearing this, the girl thought it was like throwing peas against the wall, because she thinks that she puts everything on the shelves for him, but he doesn't understand. Lara thought that she was very glad that neither the knights nor the princess suffered much, and her guilt in the past was that, on the contrary, she sympathized with the supposedly poor prince who had to expel the princess. The girl thought that she couldn't say that she had atoned for her guilt, but she was so glad that she was able to at least pay back a little, and it didn't matter that she had managed to make Damian a hero, because she believed that there would be many more opportunities for this in the future. The Marquise turns to the boy and asks why he pushed her towards the princess. He replies that it was because she was trying to save the princess and not him. The young lady wonders what he was talking about with the magician on the boat, because she saw that he grabbed him by the neck and said something to him. The man explains that he asked what his goal was, and he replied that the house. The lady claims that it is obvious, and even if she cannot give him a title, she will definitely give him the famous sword. Damian says that he wants to watch, and at this time the main character, half asleep, says that she really worked hard today, and before that she was very nervous, so it seems she is so tired. The guy strokes the girl and wishes her sweet dreams, and also enjoys her beauty. Meanwhile, Sebastian asks if there is still any news from Lara, because he understands that they have not yet received any eyewitness accounts since the attack took place. The Marquise suggests that he allocate more people for the search, because she believes that he needs to hurry because she is very worried about her daughter. Suddenly, a carriage drives up to the house, from which a young gentleman comes out, holding Lara in his arms. Sebastian asks, fearfully, if she is okay. The young man answers that she is sleeping, and therefore suggests that they not worry because the lady is okay. The Marquise looked at the guy, and then asked if he was Damian, and then told him to follow her. At this time, the young man looked at the lady, and thought that Isadora of Heaven had a similar side, and then followed her. The Marquise reports that everyone says he is a very talented man, and then asks if he is from the Tarragon Empire. The guy explains that he was a military slave, and the woman says that she heard about it, and then asks if she can ask what the purpose of his visit to Otan is. Damian thought that before he wanted to tell no one about this, but he thinks that now everything has changed. After all, the Crown Prince told him to do this in complete secrecy, and therefore he did not look for allies. The man reports that they are tracking a faction of dark mages, and they are investigating the plans and goals of the dark mages hiding in the Otan kingdom. The Marquise asks in surprise whether he belongs to the temple and who ordered it. He replies that he cannot say, Isadora reports that an investigation into his past has revealed nothing, but she wants to eliminate all dangers around her daughter. And if he is the one doing such dangerous work, she feels she should ask him to leave. The woman says she will compensate him. Damian says he understands her. She claims that for the sake of her daughter, she will lose everything even if she dies, but she will make sure that the empire falls. The guy says that he knows this, and if Lara is in danger regardless of the mission, he will protect her at all costs and at all costs. Isadora asks what will happen if he ends up handing over his customer, and the young man claims that Lara is now in first place. Hearing this, the lady says that then she relies on him, and Damian claims that he will benefit her. The Marquise says that it is already late, and therefore tells him to go to bed. At this time, Damian remembered the words of the magician that they would kill the saint, and then tells the woman that he needs to check something, and he cannot go to bed yet. Damian is interested in what saint he was talking about because he understands that more than 100 years have passed since God left this earth, and he understands that naturally the words about the saint are a lie, but it doesn't hurt to check. The guy came to the magician and told him to keep quiet if he didn't want to be tortured again by knights everywhere, and then reminded him that he said that a saint appeared on this land and asked where he got such information. The man responds by screaming that the devil said so, and they will kill all women they suspect of being holy. Damian tells him to speak quietly, and then asks if it is the princess. He replies that Sonnet is one of the candidates with great potential. Suddenly, the man felt that someone was coming, and he didn't understand what to do with him, save him or kill him. After all, he believes that the devil's minions cannot be corrected, and at the moment when they make a pact with the devil, their rights to life and souls are transferred to the devil. Damian knows that he will still be useless, even if he spares his life, and if he is left alive, he will irritate and hinder him, because he has stated that he will kill all women suspected of being holy, and therefore believes that there is no need to save his life. Lara read a note from her father, asking her to come home sometime, because he wanted to talk to her, and she thought that he didn't know the meaning of the word give up, and wasn't right in the head because he thought she would return to this house. The maid tells her mistress that she thinks it will rain in the evening, and therefore suggests that she wear something without long skirts, just in case. Jimena looked at the girl and said that she still didn't make a mistake in choosing this dress. Lara opened the box and asked if she should wear it again, because she knew that this box had just arrived. The lady with red hair asks if this is what they ordered back then, and the maid says that it is an incredibly beautiful nightgown, but only the main character claims that it is not a nightgown because it is worn on top. Lara thought about how she didn't know exactly how many years later it was that a trend that had originated in the empire swept through Athén's social circles. The imperial dancer who arrived in the kingdom threw on a similar fabric as a cloak. The thin fabric did not fall along the silhouette, but fluttered when moving. This conquered women's hearts and quickly became a new fashion trend. The young lady thought that she really wanted to wear this when she pretended to be a fake saint, but then she did not have enough courage for it, and she only bought similar things secretly and only admired them. The girl reflects on the fact that back then she thought that it was not appropriate for a saint to wear something like that, and does not understand why she thought so. Lara puts it on herself and asks how she looks. Connie says that she is touched to the depths of her soul because before she only wore long clothes like a ghost of a curtain. But finally the mistress puts on something that really suits her. Hearing this, the lady was surprised, and the maid explains that the ghost living behind the curtain comes out into the world at night when the curtains are closed. The main character turns to the maid and reminds her that she told her to stop reading strange books. She says that the lady's secretary lent her this book, and it is very interesting. Connie explains that it is a very famous book called Athéna's Collection of Traditional Ghost Stories. Sebastian asks the lady if she has a minute. Lara says that she was thinking about him. He greets her and asks how she rested. The young lady says that she is so sorry that she constantly interrupts him from his work, and he says that the only thing that matters to them is her safety. The lady says that these are her friends, Lady Duan and Lady Suivy. Eunice asks the man why he came. Sebastian turns to the Marchioness and asks her to step aside. The lady says that she will return soon and suggests that her friends rest. The man says that Damian has returned to the arena but will soon arrive at the house. Hearing this, the main character does not understand why he suddenly started talking about him. Sebastian says that they are planning to organize his residence in a separate building, and the girl says that she doesn't quite understand right now. The man explains that he will be her night escort, and then explains that people interested in his skills will want to contact him, so they need to hurry up and take the initiative, and the contract will be ready within today. The secretary says that there is one more thing that they could not agree on, and this young man is very stubborn, and then says that if she meets him, let her pass on their proposal. Lara asks in surprise what he explains that the lady is trying to give him a huge annual salary, and the negotiations are stuck at this point because he says that he does not need any money. Hearing this, the lady was surprised, and the man explained that he was also surprised because it seemed that there were still people who refused to take the lady's money. Sebastian says that this is all he wanted to tell her, and then thanks her for taking the time to tell him. The girl claims that everything is fine because she also needed to talk about something important. The Marquise says that she wants to ask about her father's corruption so that her mother can easily divorce him. She says that her father supplies the temple with narcotics, and this has been going on for several years. Lara reports that this drug is prohibited by law, not only in the Autan Empire, but also in most countries on the continent, and was created by dark magicians. She believes that they should seize him as soon as possible, because this man knows no boundaries at all, since he even decided to start manipulating his mother. The main character believes that right now, when the whole country is in turmoil because of the black magician, Sebastian apologizes for interrupting her and then asks how she knew about it. The girl asks in surprise if this matters, and the secretary claims that it is very important. At this time, the Marquise does not understand what to answer her because she cannot say what she knows from a past life, and then says that she had suspicions about the relationship between the temple and her father, and therefore she followed him. The young lady reports that the temple, which is famous for its pride, does everything that the father asks for, and the relationship between the father prince and the temple has become closer than ever, and it will not even be difficult for them to create a saint. Sebastian says that in fact, the lady already knows this, and since he is the lady's father, she tried to touch him as little as possible. Hearing this, Lara was surprised and then screaming. She said that this is not at all necessary. He claims that this is why the lady puts her in priority, and she remains silent, fearing that the Marquise's mistake will involve her in this too. The main character thought that she was a stumbling block again, and then asks Sebastian what he thinks she can do and whether her opinion matters. The secretary says that she is the closest person to her mother, and he even thinks that her opinion is more important than all the others. The lady asks him to tell her why. The man says that Isadora planned to make her the next Marchioness. However, he thinks that, although everything can be solved with a simple divorce, if the Marquis Bailey is completely destroyed, it will be difficult for her to inherit the title, and then asks if everything is okay. Lara claims that everything is fine, and she does not want to be a Marchioness Bailey, and does not want to have anything to do with that place. Sebastian agrees with her, and then says that he will try to convince the lady. Eunice says she hasn't been to the arena for a long time. Lara says she heard there was a dark mage in the capital who was distributing drugs, and then asks the girls if they've heard anything about it. Jimena says that although they are bad people, they are not that bad, and then says that the Marquise should not try to go to such extremes. After all, she would rather go to the temple than meet with a dark magician. The young lady explains that she simply asked because she was interested in whether they heard anything, and then says that she will figure it out herself. Eunice reports that there is one thing that she heard some time ago, but she believes that in fact it is not such an important thing, but simply the sale of some special drugs under the bridge, and that dark magicians are doing this. The girl with dark hair says that it is very expensive, but she was so upset because she could not get it, and no matter whether she is a man or a woman, she can spend an unforgettable night with just one sip. Eunice asks Jimena why she is looking at her like that. The lady with red hair asks how she knew that. Eunice claims that of course it wasn't her, but she just deprived her of it, and then says that she can do everything without it if she wants. The girls ask if the Marquise is going to Damian. Jimena says that her mother's secretary seems to be a good person, and maybe she will think that she is saying something obvious, but she wants to say that not many people treat them with respect. Lady Jimena says that they are usually bombarded with harsh words, despised or ignored. Eunice, hearing this, screams and asks what kind of atmosphere this is, and why she even said this, and then says that they are going and wants to have a good time with Damian. At this time, the main character looked after the girls and thought that they were so shy and they were very good people, and he was the holiest one here. Lara asks why he doesn't want to take the money they offered him. The guy replies that it's because they're trying to give him too much money for something that isn't work. The girl asks if this is not a job, then what is it? And he answers that it is a specialization, and in any case, he was going to stay with her for 6 months, and if he takes money from her mother, then it will be a double contract. The lady wonders how their relationship will change from this. He asked with interest what kind of relationship they have, and then came closer to her. The main character says that she wanted to buy medicine with him under the bridge. He asks in surprise if she thinks they need it. Down the river, Tender, there is a place that is illuminated every day by the lights of the pleasure quarter. There is a bar there that is said to be most frequented by aristocrats in their day. They slowly drove along the dizzying street with multicolored magical lights, but even inside the carriage, the main character could not completely hide her embarrassment. The lady, who was determined to protect him with her life, invited him on a date, but the goal was different. Connie says that the mistress is stalking the slave. Lara tells her to stop because it is not a date. The maid claims that it is because of her worries about her mistress and asks if she enjoys thrills too often these days. The Marquise reminds that she said that she shouldn't go, and then asks what the problem is if Damian is with her. Connie screams and says that she should be with them too, because a man and a woman shouldn't be alone at night. Lady asks why she has become so stubborn lately, and Damian says that she is also wrong and believes that nothing like that will happen to someone who sold his soul to the devil to become a dark magician, because he believes that it is absurd to simply produce and sell strange drugs. The main character says that in fact, she still has suspicions that it could be something dangerous disguised as love, and they are so careful to protect their privacy that they even hide the family crest on the carriage. The young lady believes that this may indeed be something more than what it is, and she is going to look around because she believes that she will not go unnoticed, but will simply look around and return. In a few minutes, the lady bought it, and the guy claims that it is worth checking. And when he opened the bag, he saw a bottle. And at this time, Lara remembered her past. The man says that he cannot believe that a saint came to buy something like that, and therefore thinks that this means that it is true that the world is about to collapse, and then asks how the daughter of the Marquis Belli is. The main character tells him to check the money, and the alchemist Valentine says that since she paid the money, the goods are hers. Lara remembered that she died after drinking the poison he had prepared. The man screams and says that this is not a scam, and the girl says that she will pay double the amount and give him twice as much so that he brings another one tomorrow at the same time. Connie turns to the lady and says that she will catch a cold, and the guy suggests going back. At this time, the girl thought that the current Valentine must be suffering from cruel treatment from her dark magician mentor. His teacher was a dark magician who secretly communicated with his father and unable to overcome the insult and death threats from his teacher, he asked the saint to help him catch the dark magician in Otana. Valentine told the lady that her father was selling drugs to priests with him. He asked her for help, but the girl did not believe him and claimed that her father was a religious man and coldly refused him. After this, Valentine did the same thing as his teacher. He became an alchemist who created drugs and poisons because that was the only thing he knew how to do. Lara reflects that if she had helped him, then perhaps he would not have gone down the same path as the teacher he hated so much. However, she believes that now she has the power to help him. Damian says he's already here. The lady thanks him for his efforts and asks if there are any results. The guy says he's a middleman and looks like he was recently beaten up. Hearing this, the main character reflects that this is what she thought and believes that this time she should help him. The next day, the girl saw Valentine and thought that he really was beaten because he was limping. Damian grabbed the guy and then pushed him into the carriage. He asks if he should be gagged. The lady says no and tells the carriage to move out. The guy asks in surprise why she is doing this to him and who they are. The lady asks if his name is Valentine. Hearing this, the guy is surprised and asks how she knows him. The Marquise explains that she conducted a small investigation into the drug that he sold her yesterday, and it turned out that it was made by a student of a dark magician, and therefore, before she gives it into the hands of the appropriate people, she asks to listen. The man asks in surprise what she is talking about, and then claims that he does not know any dark magicians. Lara tells him not to lie, because his teacher is a dark mage, and asks why he created this drug. Valentine replies that he did it to make money, because his younger brothers are starving in their hometown. The Marquise asks if he was a street vagabond, and if his teacher took him under his wing. And at that moment, she thought about how he doesn't know how to lie. The lady says that since he has no talent for dark magic, he most likely was unable to make a contract even with a low-level devil, and therefore survives by selling such things. Valentine screams and asks why she should ask him if she knows everything and the answers to his question, and he also wonders how she knows him. The main character says that from now on she will be his employer. He screams and says that he doesn't want to, because she just threatened him and was going to hand him over to the guards. Lara claims that she will take care of his teacher and let him only solve every crime committed by his teacher, and then she will make sure that he never does anything like that again in his life. The lady claims that he tried to escape, and therefore thinks that soon he will either be finished off or simply abandoned. But as a man appears in front of him, who extends a helping hand to him and asks him to grab it and free himself from this place, Valentine believes that no one will help just like that without asking for something in return, and then says that he does not trust her. The Marquise then suggests that he go to the guards. Hearing this, the guy screams and asks what she knows at all, who is a noble lady who grew up in hothouse conditions. A noble family does not know the severity of the street. Lara agrees with him and says that let it be so. But her mother is the world-famous Isadora, and then asks what he wants to do most after he is freed from the shackles of his teacher. The young man replies that it is business. The lady says that they will do it this way, and he will conduct business working with her since she has an experienced trader, and then asks if it is not profitable for both of them. The girl says that if he understood, then let him get up. The guy grabs her hand and asks her to be careful, because he knows that the teacher is a really scary person. The main character claims that everything is fine, because her companion is much scarier. Damian, hearing this, thanks the lady, and she claims that she told the truth, and at that time thought that thank God, everything ended well. Damian thought that he did it because Lara wanted it, because it seems to him that she knew from the very beginning what this guy's decision would be, and he wonders what she's planning. The guard thought that the more he looked, the more curious he became. Sebastian tells Isadora that her daughter has found a dark magician, and she wants to use this as a weapon to help her divorce the Marquis. The woman objects and asks how she even knew that something like this could help with a divorce. And the secretary says that she is truly extraordinary and thought that it had been only a short time since they themselves found out about it. But it turned out that she knew about it too. Isadora believes that perhaps this can be used not only for divorce, and for example, if you report this to the temple and deal with everything else secretly, then Lara will not suffer. Sebastian claims that this is impossible because she knows that the Temple of Glory has long been in cahoots with him. The lady wonders what about the royal family then. The secretary says that he doesn't think they would disclose such a thing because it is an excellent way to keep the temple under control, and he also thought about these options. The Marquise says that the only real divorce, and at this time the man thought that the lady was too worried about the lady. Well, he also can't constantly interfere with her decisions. Isadora asks what to do with this child. Hearing this, Sebastian says that the lady is probably the only one who thinks that she is a child, and then claims that her daughter is an adult. However, the woman thinks that in her eyes, she is still a child, and the man says that the lady is too grown up, and the lady asks if this is an insult. Sebastian believes that this means that she is wise and fearless, and everything she says and does is out of love for her, and she is sincere because she does not understand how otherwise she could have found the stronghold of the dark magician in such a short period of time. Isadora thought about how, until recently before she had stepped into the mansion, what a tender and emotional child she had been, that she had cried and screamed, so that she would not come to the coming-of-age ceremony. The woman does not understand why she suddenly changed so much, and then tells the secretary that a group of mercenaries belonging to the top entered the capital, and therefore let him tell Damian about this, and he will attack the dark magician. The lady thinks it would be good to leave him alive, since their goal is to gather evidence. He asks if she is talking about wolves, and then says that he will contact the security forces and officially report it. Sebastian tells the maid to bring Damian to his office. The main character looked at the guy and said that he was moving faster than she thought, and he turns to her and says that he will take care of the dark magician for her, and then asks if she can answer him one question. The guy tells her to promise to be completely honest because he will not accept lies and silence. Lara says she doesn't know what's going on, but she'll do it. He says that's great and says that it's time then. Isadora's mercenaries, the wolves, say that it was very boring without work, and it was such a pity for the mistress's money that she wasted on them. But the young man thinks that it is better than before. The girl asks why they need so many people and why they told her to take one more person, since she understands that they only need to grab one person. The partner says that they shouldn't relax because dark magicians are not so simple, and the lady assured that he is a talented person and therefore suggests not to lose vigilance. At this time, Damian appears and asks if he likes the speed, and then the wolves tell him to lead them since he is a newbie, and the young gentleman tells his comrades to go. Isadora's mercenaries tied their horses in the forest and set off to hunt for the magician. Damian shows them hand signals that mean stop, and at that time he thought that it should be here, and then says that this is not the right door because the one needed is closer to the ground in the corner. The guy removed the slab and told the wolves to wait for him here, and then climbed into this gorge. The guys who were waiting were already tired and decided to follow him. The girl screams and says that the dark mage is attacking, and Damian tells them to stand still because it is him. The guy asks in surprise how it is possible to carry a corpse like that, and Damian says that he didn't know what else could come out of it if you carry it upside down, and says that this person has already died. The girl asks what happened. He explains that he came down, and a magic attack flew at him, and it was black magic, and it looked like it was trying to blow up the shelter, but he approached her to stop her from casting the spell. The guy asks, in surprise, if his magic attack flew, but he was still able to get close to her. Damian says that he cut off her fingers, and if she follows him, he will leave her alive. The mercenary reports that she put herself into eternal sleep by drinking poison, and he was supposed to stop her. The girl asks in surprise if he approached her while she was attacking. Damian explains that he broke her arm first, and she tried to blow up the shelter, and he took away her ability to cast a spell. The woman with dark hair says that he is crazy, and then asks if he knows that there is a dark magician here. The mercenary saw that the lady had arrived with a squad of turtles. There were many clues in the dark magician's hideout, and she took orphans and taught them black magic, promising to feed them well. This witch used demonic mana to make a potion and then sell it to the priest. Evidence of poisoning, drug trafficking, and even human trafficking was found, and it turned out that every possible crime had been committed. Isadora presented all the evidence to the king. To ensure the fairness of the investigation, the guardian knights of the royal family were involved. The names of the priests who bought drugs from the dark magician were investigated, and of course, the Temple of Glory was turned upside down. The Marquis Bailey became worried and requested protection from the Temple of Glory. The prince thought that Mark from Bailey was still not sitting still, and he thought that he needed to cut off his tail here and stop communicating with him. Sidar turns to his father and says that although there is no fact proving that the Marquis was directly involved in all this, he believes that he is undoubtedly an accomplice, and therefore proposes to punish the Marquis Bailey severely. The prince says that they need to use this as an example to instill decency in the nobles. At this time, the Marquis Bailey reflects on the fact that this is all because of that woman, because he gave her a commoner the title of a noblewoman, and she does not know because of whom she became rich. The king wrote to the Marquis that considering that he had been a famous nobleman of Autun for many years, he gave him the opportunity to confess his Greeks on his own, but he must bow to the king and confess, since this was perhaps the only repentance that could be performed. At this time, the main character thought that this color reminded her of Damiana, because at this time she came to choose decoration for the room. Eunice says that Lara looks happy because she smiles all the time and therefore thinks that something good has happened. The main character asks in surprise if everything is so noticeable. Eunice says that she found out that the seller turned out to be a student of a dark magician, and this is not a rumor but the truth, because it is too lucky to be a coincidence. Lara says that this is all true, and she was lucky. The lady with red hair asks if she has tried the drug, and then suggests that she try drinking it next to her handsome warrior. However, the young lady remains silent, and Eunice says that if she is not going to use it, then let her give it to her. Jimena reminds her that she advised her to do so, and therefore asks her to give this bottle to her. The Marquise screams and says that she doesn't know, and thinks that in any case, it was probably a fake, so she didn't even think to ask. Eunice screams and claims that it was a waste of money, and she just threw away 300 gold pieces. Jimena then asks to meet this alchemist, and then asks if she can meet him at her place. The lady asks why, and she answers to get a discount for familiar employers. Lara turns to the saleswoman and asks her to pack the things and send them to Isadora's mansion. And at that time, she realized that she did not think about this when she told Damian about the drug, and she does not know why she is so ashamed. The Marquise asks the girls if they would like something to eat, as she would like something light today. At this time, the lady's friends were grabbed by men who covered their mouths with their hands and told them to follow them quietly. The main character turns to them and says that she will go, but only so that they let these girls go. The man opened the carriage door for the lady, and she went inside. Lara claims that he knows she can't escape and then tells her to be released quickly. The man says that he heard that she has a hot temper, and at this time the girls are pushed and they fall to the ground. The main character screams and says that this is different from what they promised, and the man asks if they were released and if that is not so, and then covers the lady's mouth with a handkerchief. At this time, the Marquise thought that she could do nothing when she was being dragged like that, and her eyes were blindfolded. She felt that there was no shaking, and it seemed that she was not in a carriage, but her eyes were still closed. The girl thought that although one could tell without looking, they were definitely dressed in the uniform of the Marquis Belli family. Her father took off the blindfold and said that they hadn't seen each other for a long time, and as she thought he was the only one who could do something like that, the Marquise agrees with her that they haven't seen each other for a long time and asks if she's been doing well. The daughter thinks that he's not doing well and says so. The man asks in surprise what she is saying to her father and also asks if she feels sorry for him. The girl asks if she feels sorry for the one who kidnapped his own daughter and also wonders if he really thought that the corrupt temple and the cunning prince would remain faithful to the end, and believes that it was only because of this that he kidnapped his daughter. Hearing this, the father got angry and then hit the girl in the face with all his might and then said that she had just arrived and such dirt was already pouring out of her mouth. He said that he had contacted Isadora and therefore suggested that she wait patiently. The man says that although she is stupid, she will definitely accept his offer and therefore he will free her as soon as the issue is resolved. Lara tells him to stop cursing at her mother. He screams and tells her to shut up, and then tells her that he is about to be thrown out of the country because of this woman, and asks if she is only worried about this vile villain. At this time, the main character reflects on the fact that she thinks that he was threatened with deportation if he does not confess to his actions, and she does not understand why he made such a stupid choice, got into a dead end, and cannot make informed decisions. The Marquis says that if only she were like him, a noble and elegant person, but in the end, she took after her mother. Lara says that if he wanted to gain power by selling his daughter, he should have done everything carefully from the very beginning, and then asks why he continues to blame her mother for ruining everything. The Marquis hits the girl in the face again and says that he told her to watch her mouth because such nasty words should not come out of her mouth because she is his child, so naturally she will help him. The girl says that he didn't give birth to her but is trying to use her, but since it doesn't work out the way he wants, he simply takes out his anger on her. The father throws a vase of flowers at her and says that the relationship between parents and children is determined by heaven and claims that she is going against it. The daughter asks how dare he say such a thing and does he deserve it. In a past life, when they learned that they had to make a sacrifice to the devil, Prince Cedar at least pretended to be concerned. The Marquis Bailey's influence rested solely on the image of his daughter as a saint. His position would have been difficult if he had belatedly awakened to paternal love and had blamed the prince for everything. The main character realizes that the person who most actively suggested sacrificing her was her father. The prince said that life is essentially over, and even if she stops breathing, the fact that she is Bailey's daughter will go down in Autan's history, and for people this is the only way to live forever. The great saint who sacrificed herself to save the kingdom was Alaviori, the great father who raised this saint, and the main character understood that this must be the very picture he so carefully painted, but there was no place for her in this picture. The father asks what else she can't do, and then screaming claims that her mother may have given birth to her body, but the blood flowing in it belongs to Bailey, and therefore naturally he is allowed to decide everything. Hearing this, the daughter smiled and said that she understood, and the man said that she finally realized it. Suddenly, Lara falls to the floor, and her father asks her in surprise what she is doing. The girl explains that if the red liquid in her body is his, then she wonders if they shouldn't just pour out all this dirty liquid. The man asks how she dares to do this, and also wonders if this is really his daughter, because he does not understand how a person can change so much. With a broken forehead, the daughter looks at him and smiles, and then claims that it was he who made her this way. At this time, Isadora read a message from her husband, which said that if she wanted to save her daughter, she should collect the required amount. Sebastian turns to the lady and says that the Marquis Bailey, even if he gets what he wants, still will not let Lara go so easily. The woman tells him to contact the guardian knights of the royal family and report this. Isadora turns to the wolf mercenaries and tells them to send Damian to the Bailey mansion right now, and he must do everything possible to save Lara. Even if he has to kill everyone, she will take full responsibility. At the same time, Lara, lying on the bed, thinks about how to get out, because she understands that all the doors and windows are locked from the outside, and she will not be able to open them from the inside. The girl remembers the servant's story, that she does not know the story about the ghost living behind the curtain, because at night he opens the curtains and comes out to harm sleeping people. But the ghost is afraid of fire. At this time, the main character thought that now she understands why she has to sleep with a lit lamp by the bed, and she thinks that these are absurd stories that Connie told. Lara reflects on the fact that she wants to take back her words about not reading strange books. However, she understands that the Marquise has locked her up and is starving her, and believes that she will cry and beg for mercy. The Marquis said that he would release her when the time came, and therefore she should sit quietly until that time, since she was now a tool for negotiations and had value, at least in that. The young lady thought that just by looking at the fact that he freed her hands only because she shed a little blood, it becomes clear what kind of value she represents to him, and then tears down the curtains. The girl opened the closet and said that she no longer needed these clothes, and then threw all the things on the floor. The lady became interested in whether there was anything that could block the door. Meanwhile, the guards who were sitting by the door were drinking wine. They heard some noise and told the lady that it was useless, and therefore suggested that she just sit silently. Lara lights the candles and asks what he said. The guard says that she could have prevented it because she will get her due from the Marquis of Bailey. At this time, the main character throws lit candles at the door, and flames engulf the room. The girl climbed into the bathtub with water and thought that, although she had committed this act only to create the appearance of an intention to die, she became interested in whether she could survive. Lara realizes that there is so much she hasn't done yet, but she became curious because there was definitely a big wound on her forehead, and she doesn't understand why it doesn't hurt. The lady looked in the mirror and asked in surprise why there was no wound, and she wondered how it could have healed so quickly. The main character saw that the house was falling apart, and she realized that if she didn't run away now, it would be too late later. But she understood that it was absolutely forbidden to open the door, because if they found out that the scar on her forehead had completely healed, they would most likely try to use it against her. The young lady believes that after that she will be pursued until she dies. And then she opens the window and realizes that she is scared. But if a miracle happens, then only after she jumps. Lara understands that even if a miracle does not happen, she must go through a fall through flames, and if necessary, even overcome her father. At this time, Damian approaches the mansion, and he saw that this house is on fire. He realized where Lara's room is, and thinks that she must be a person who can easily start a fire, and he thinks that this is where he needs to go. Suddenly, the guy saw the girl jumping out of the window. He approaches her and then grabs her hand, and they fall together. Lara asks in surprise if he is okay, and the young man claims that he is fine, and then asks how she is. The lady explains that she is safe, and it is all thanks to him. Damian says that he will kill her father. The guy turns to Damian and calls him a newbie, and then asks if he's crazy, and says that he almost shit his pants when he saw it from afar, and also asks the lady if she's crazy too. At this time, the guards inform the Marquis that she jumped, and he, surprised, asks if they can catch one girl, and then orders them to catch her quickly. Hearing this, Damian asks in surprise how dare he, and the main character suggests leaving there quickly, and then asks the guy if he can get up. The butler announces that the mistress is already here. Isadora approaches her husband and then slaps him in the face. She turns to her daughter and asks if she is okay and if she is hurt. Lara assures that everything is fine now, and her mother says that she missed her very much and was so afraid that she would never see her again. Isadora tells the Marquis Bailey that he is no longer the father of this child, and not her husband. Hearing this, he is surprised, and asks what nonsense she is talking about, and the woman claims that on the day of his death there will be no one next to him. The knight informs the Marquis that by order of His Majesty, the king, he is being arrested for the kidnapping and attempted murder of a nobleman. Isadora says that in a cold and lonely dungeon where there will be no sympathy, he will feel sorry until the very end, and in the end he will die a painful death. The main character heard the news about the Marquis from Sebastian, and it was truly terrible. Not only did her mother manage to get a full divorce, she also demanded that their names be removed from the family register of the Baileys. The secretary explains that for money, you can do anything you want. However, they probably thought that breaking up one noble family that was easy to exploit would be a waste of time. Therefore, the king granted only half of the request. He erased their names from the family register. But perhaps when the main character in the future wants to become the head of the family, or if her husband needs a title, then it will be possible to take this title, saying that it will be mercy on his part. His Majesty said that he was no longer a Bailey and should be thrown out of the country. The lady thought that, in the same way, her father would no longer be able to exercise any powers on behalf of the Bailey. The Marquis was expelled after everything was taken from him, including his identity, property, family, and name. Sebastian informs the lady that the mistress is dealing with other minor matters, and she just needs to focus on recovery, as society is in an uproar, but the mistress is also dealing with that. Hearing this, Lara smiled and said that she even felt better, and the man asked in surprise if everything was okay. The girl believes that there is no need to expect her to be kind. A few days later, her friends say that they are alive and have fresh air that they so lacked. And at this time, Lara thought that they are her friends, but this is just something with something. Eunice says they are going out for a drink, and then asks the youngest if she is going to her boyfriend's room. The main character asks what boyfriend they are talking about, and why she is the youngest. Jimena claims that she was the one who first set fire to her father's house, and then offers the lady a hug, and says that she, the youngest, worked hard. Lara suggests that they meet a little later, but also tells them to drink at Meru, and the girls wish her luck. The young lady thinks that Damian is probably already packing his things, and in the end, he agreed to move to their house after so much stubbornness, and if he hasn't packed anything, then she will help him. Princess Sonnet gave the girl the royal sword. It was the sword that the investigator found in an unknown cave, and it was the same sword that was given to the father of the current king when he ascended the throne. Lara understands that now that sword is being given to Damian. After all, the royal sword can only be given with the permission of the king, and he gets a sword with such a history, and therefore there is a lot of meaning in giving it. The girl thinks that when she tells this news to Damian, she wonders if he will be happy. The lady was surprised when she opened the door because he didn't always open it before she knocked. She saw that the room was empty, and she wondered where he went because he said he was going to pack his things. At this time, the man turns to the gentleman and says that he has been very popular lately, and then asks if it was not for the sake of becoming famous. Damian replies that it is none of his business, and the worker claims that he is very rude and, as always, uncommunicative. The stranger says that it's actually hard for him too, but he's already quite old. Damian looked at the lamp and thought that he had finally made contact since so much time had passed. Osiris reminds him that he told him to call as soon as possible, and the guy replies that it happened now. And Sirius says that a rumor has spread that a dark magician was caught, but he only honored them with the call now, and then says that since they communicate informally, he has completely stopped respecting him. The gentleman says that from that moment on, he addressed him by the title of Crown Prince, and asks if he understood. The young man says that he annoys him, and the prince asks why he even became friends with a bastard like him, and then says that he is his savior. The prince says that he has forgiven for the 81st time, and will be angry next time, and asks if he has finished his grumbling. Damian says that he understood and reports that he is starting to report that the dark magicians are looking for a saint in Otana, and everything is quiet in the temple. But it seems that the devil was the first to stir, and they said that a saint appeared in Otana. The guy asks the prince what he wants him to do. Asiris says that he will find out about the temple again and let him find the saint before the dark magicians if possible, because he thinks that the war with the devil is just around the corner and he needs to be completely protected. That same night, in Isadora's mansion, the main character thought that no matter how many times she cuts the wound heals immediately, and she believes that this is a trick of the devil. Lara thought that she had drunk a little, but she was sober as never before and believed that this was definitely not a hallucination. The young lady believes that the most likely option is that she is already dead and cannot die until the appointed day comes, and she became interested in whether she will fall into eternal sleep on the same day in 10 years. The girl does not understand whether she will be able to fully pay for her sins before death. The main character went out onto the balcony and remembered that Damian fell grabbing her without any hesitation, and he doesn't even know her normally since he has no memories from his past life. And she became interested in why he was trying so hard. Lara looked down and saw the light in Damian's room and then ran towards him. The lady opened the door to the guy's room and asked if she came suddenly, and then said that she went to the arena recently, but he was not there. The girl looked at the guy whose shirt was unbuttoned, and she doesn't understand why she is so embarrassed, and then says that the princess gave her the royal sword, and she came to give it to him. Damian apologizes, and she asks why he does this. The guy asks if she is not disappointed that he was not there when she came to visit him. Lara replies that she wasn't disappointed, but felt a little strange. But it's not that she didn't like it. He offers to let her go first and give her the lamp too. The lady says that she rather felt a little sorry because he fell when she was grabbed, and it must have been very painful, and the guy claims that everything is fine because he is her knight. The main character turns to him and says that if they had not met in the arena that day, they would not be sitting together now, and if someone is as good as he is, he could go anywhere even without having a mistress. Damian asks why suddenly, and she wonders why he kissed her then, but she understands that although she knew him, he must have seen her for the first time. Hearing this, the guy asks intently what she said, and at that time the main character realized that she had made a mistake and then tells him to pretend that he hadn't heard it. When the lady was about to leave, the guy grabbed her hand and reminded her that she promised that if he destroyed the dark magician for her sake, she would answer his questions. The young man says that he wants to ask now what she knows about him. The guy says that she recognized him from the very beginning because he was not familiar with her, but she definitely knew him. Damian says that the dark magician who tried to kill the princess is that boy's mentor and Marquis Bailey, because at first he thought it was a premonition, but it seems that it is not so. Lara sits down next to him and says that this is not a precognition, and then asks if this is his question. He answers that it is. The girl asks if he can trust her if she tells him honestly. The guy says he will try and then strokes her hair. At this time, the main character thought that she would have to admit this someday, and then says that they had a completely different relationship. Lara reveals that this is her second life. She explains that long ago, in her past life, she set him up and used him. As if that wasn't enough, she drove him out onto the battlefield, and countless people were killed because of her. The lady explains that at that time she was crazy about the Prince of Sidhar and was a puppet who did everything he wanted, and the prince used it. The Marquise says that she still doesn't know why, but even in his past life he continued to return to her. The main character thought that now that she said it out loud, something became clear, and even then she felt comfortable around Damian. The girl says that in her past life, she was a sinner and accused people of spying for the Empire's benefit. She accused honest people of various evil deeds and even tried to make him a target for the Empire. Lara says that one day when similar situations began to repeat themselves again and again, he asked her why she hated him so much. The lady thinks that it is too late, but she would like to answer, at least now and then claims that she never hated him, but on the contrary, she was drawn to him. The main character explains that now she is strikingly different from the one she was before, so she can say it out loud, but then not having received an answer, he left Autan forever. The young lady doesn't know what she should say and how to tell him, because she knows that she died pretending to be a false saint. Damian looked at her and said that if it was hard for her, she might as well not continue. And the lady said that she had committed suicide because she no longer wanted the Siddhar prince to use her for his own interests. Lara says that after this, at the moment when she thought that her insignificant life had ended in this way, she opened her eyes again and found herself in the past. The guy asks if that's why she immediately went to look for him, and also wonders if she's trying to use him again. The main character explains that she wants to correct her past mistakes and wants to apologize to him. Damian says that if the conversation is painful, he can stop it. She objects and says that it is simple, and he interrupts and suggests talking about something else. The guy reminds her that she asked why he kissed her, and then explains that he needed a reason to stay in Autan's kingdom, and says that he is looking for a saint. The young man explains that he initially studied the movements of dark magicians, but long ago he was given another task and was told to find the saint and bring her to the empire. Damian says that he is here to do his job, and therefore suggests that he no longer make these ridiculous apologies. Hearing this, Lara thought that thank God, and then says that if he wants to get information about the dark magicians of Otana, then it will be convenient for him if he belongs to a noble society, and then says that she knows little about the saint. The girl says that she will go to the temple and find out some information, and thinks that it would be great if she could tell him something right now. The main character reflects on the fact that even if she were a fake, she should know at least a little information pretending to be a saint, because before she had no thoughts at all, and says that she will help as much as she can. The guy claims that everything is fine, and asks her to continue using him for her own purposes, because this time he will never betray her. The lady claims that she always wanted to apologize to him, and therefore decided to become his supporter. The young man suggests that she stop, and then explains that he simply asked, and believes that their entire relationship was based on her guilt. He wonders what she will do once she gets rid of her guilt. Lara says that she is going to give him freedom so that he can be free, and then says that in his past life he became a king, so he should not be here. The guy heard this, smiled, and said that what she was saying now seemed to him like the delirium of a person who had a nightmare, and that's why she was just trying to tell him to leave, because of the nightmare. The main character claims that it was not a nightmare, and it really happened. He says that he understood, and then says that he will always be there for her, and when she wants, he will get everything she needs. At this time, the girl does not understand why it seems to her that misunderstandings are only becoming more. He tells her to go to her room because it is already late, and she needs to rest. The next day, Lara and her maid came to the temple. Connie greeted the priest and asked if there were any records about the saint. The Reverend replies that the 6th through 22nd slabs contain records about the saint. She says that she understands and then thanks him. Connie asks the lady why she is suddenly interested. She replies that she needs to find out something here. The lady says that this is slab number 6 and they need to see 16 more of these. The maid says that their eyes will flow out while they read it. The Marquise turns to her and asks if she can watch those outside, and then says that she will read it herself. The maid suggests starting together because they will read everything faster. The lady says that if a rumor starts that she visits the temple, her damaged image will improve again. Connie says she understands and then leaves. When the girl is alone, she thinks that Damian was very angry, and when she thinks about it, she realizes that it was too sudden. The main character thought that she should explain this calmly because it was hard to believe. And while she was talking, she began to think about the past without realizing it, but still understands that words cannot be taken back. Lara reflects on the fact that she was going to apologize to the guy someday anyway, but this time she had to tell him everything because she thinks that something like this would have happened anyway. The girl remembers that he said that he came from the Empire and is now looking for a saint, and she does not understand whether she should tell him that she was a false saint, but she thinks about the fact that even if she does tell him, will he believe her? The young lady thinks it's better to concentrate on what she's doing now, because there's a lot to read. Late in the evening, the mistress thanks Connie for her work and suggests that she go home. The maid asks if she has read everything and found the information she was looking for. The marquise replies that approximately, and at that moment, she thought that the saint was the key to calling God, the messenger who represents the voice of God, and the means to call God to this earth for people, and therefore she is always hunted by the devil, and for the same reason, she is also pursued by dark magicians who worship the devil. However, the slabs are so old that their contents are unreliable, and the problem is that this is more of a legend or tale than a true record. Lara reflects on the fact that she didn't even think to understand everything she just found out what it is. And in any case, one thing is clear, that she is not a saint. And if God really exists, then she could in no way become a saint by deceiving people and making them unhappy by pretending to be a true saint. The main character thought that after reading the notes, she felt more confident and could not believe that she was transmitting the voice of God. The marquise believes that if the being who gave her a second chance at life was an absolute personality contemplating the world, then it would be the devil and not God. Sebastian greeted the lady and asked if he should do as usual, since she had just returned and was wondering if she should set the table for dinner. The lady says that there is no need to worry so much, and he says that he will take her there, and then says that she has received a letter with an invitation. She asks who the sender is. The secretary reports that Lady Eunice sent it to her. Lara realizes that it is an invitation to an end-of-summer party. Connie asks the lady if this is an event where you go with a partner and thinks it is very important, and then asks if she can refuse. Lara says that she doesn't have a man who would become her partner, and the maid asks if she can just take Damian with her. The lady asks if Valentine would be suitable, and Connie reminds him that he is still afraid of her and thinks that it is of course good that she saved him. But starting such a relationship is another matter. The lady asks about Sebastian, and the maid says that he is always busy. The main character thinks that she should refuse. The maid asks the mistress if she had a fight with Damian. She replied that it was a pity, but she had a fight. The maid says that there are still a few days left, and therefore thinks that during this time she will be able to find someone. The main character reflects on the fact that she thought the same way, and the next day, she asks Eunice to introduce her to a man. The lady with red hair asks in surprise if she has made peace with him since several days have passed. The marquise claims that it is not that easy. Eunice says that all those she knows are hot, handsome men. The maid reports that she heard that Princess Sonnet will also come. Eunice thinks that it is better to send a refusal. Lara asks in surprise why. And isn't it good that she will come, because she thinks that many others are not able to do it, so everyone will be stunned. The lady with red hair says that the original plan was to fill the party with strong alcohol-rousing music and bright lights, and then screaming. She says that because of the princess, this won't work, and for the first time in her life, she ordered a bunch of soft drinks and cute cakes. The main character says that she is great, and since it turned out this way, she needs to enjoy it, and then asks if it is impossible to do without a man, if it is such a healthy party, and also asks if she can come with Connie. Eunice objects and does not agree to this, and the girl asks why. She answers that it is not funny. The maid asks if she needs to dress up as a man, and the mistress answers that she is shorter than her. Connie wonders if she hates short men. The lady suggests she ask that question when she becomes a man. Eunice wonders who the princess will come with, because she understands that usually it is the father, older brother, relative, or the guardian knight. She says that His Majesty the King will not come because there are rumors that the prince is a criminal, and asks if she thinks that the princess will come with him to her party. The lady with red hair believes that since the princess is already 14, she will most likely come with the guardian knight. Lara believes that at this age, she should already know everything, and does not think that the princess will choose her brother or father, but due to her status, she cannot take anyone with her. So in the end, she will only be able to come with a ceremonial knight. The main character asks the maid if there is a man's tailcoat that she can wear. Connie says that she will go and look for it. Eunice asks the lady how she can do something like that, and Lara asks her to keep it a secret from Jimena, and then asks if it wouldn't be more interesting because of the surprise. The princess asks her brother to become her partner, but he tells her to leave because he is busy and find herself another partner. Sonia knew that he would refuse her, but he looked at her so coldly, and the ladies of Otana adore her brother, and if she took him with her, she thought that it would improve the relationship. The princess does not know whether to go alone or not at all, but she understands that due to political circumstances, she cannot take anyone, but she does not like to communicate with the guardian knights of the same age as her father. Sonia thinks that she always dreamed of such a party, where grown girls confidently drink and dance because it is a place where everyone can relax regardless of their status. Her Highness thought that above all she would like to see Lara. At this time a maid approaches her and informs her that the Lavière requests an audience and asks if she had any prior arrangements. Hearing this, the princess orders that she be released, and then says that Lara is no longer a Bailey, and therefore from now on asks to call her Isadora's daughter. The main character greeted the princess and said that she came to apply for an escort. The prince asks if she is going to go where all the vulgarity of the empire is rolling down, and the woman says that she thinks so because she was excited, and also Lavière. Bailey appeared in a tailcoat as her partner. His Highness says that the maid informed him of her actions because the princess is in puberty and she probably wants to have fun, and if she continues to hang out with these stupid girls, then everything is fine. The prince thought about Lara and realized that although the marquise had been expelled, Isadora's reputation would have been more than enough to compensate for the shortcomings. His Highness does not understand why he raised his child like that, and believes that if she were a decent woman, he would have used her for some time, and then ordered the carriage to stand nearby at the end of the banquet. The prince says that he needs to at least show the youngest that he is worried about her and is going to take her away. The main character came to the party with the princess as her escort. Jimena was surprised when she saw the lady, because she did not expect to see this. Lara realized that the princess was looking at the dancing couples and asked if she wanted to dance. Sonette replies that she doesn't want to dance, and at that time the main character thought that this was a lie because she continued to look at them. The lady says that she dances badly and asks if she minds. Her Highness states that everything is indeed fine and there is no need to worry about her. The Marquise objects and says that she thinks it will be worse for the princess, and as she sees it, she is dressed like this. The princess says that everyone will only look at them, and the lady asks if it doesn't bother her, then maybe they can dance. Lara didn't know what the sonnet felt when she extended her hand to her. A 14-year-old teenage girl lives her life unable to do what she wants because of the burden of royal power that she bears. But the sonnet at that moment wanted to cry. Unit thinks that it looks like a scene from some scary fairy tale, and she wonders what if Lara steals the princess's soul. Sonia asks the lady if she has received the sword she sent her. Lara says that she is deeply grateful to the princess for her favor. Her Highness asks the girl if she can ask her for something, and then asks if she would like to visit her palace, as she wants to invite her to her place. Peachy cheeks blush, round eyes are full of goodwill, and the main character realizes that now it is more obvious that Lara really likes the sonnet, and then agrees and says that this is an honor for her. At that moment, the main character realized that in the future, when the princess asks her for something, she will not be able to refuse her. The man tells Damian that their gentleman has been urgently requested. He asks why, and the man says he doesn't know and can tell him how to end the conversation. Osiris tells the guy that he has urgent business, and then says that it was not just a rumor that the magicians were talking about, but a revelation from God that came to the Temple of Glory in the Empire. And Mr. Haas said that he heard it from the priests. Hearing this, Damian asks in surprise what kind of nonsense this is, and then claims that God left this earth a long time ago. Temple of the Empire, Tarragon, and the prince says that there is no significant difference in which country the Temple of Glory has become corrupted. The reason why the Imperial Temple was considered the best on the continent was because the Imperial Temple, according to historical data, was a refuge where the gods stayed. The sacred place where the gods descended to take care of the world before leaving this earth is the Temple of the Tarragon Empire. But in both the Empire and the Kingdom, the Autan temples became a corrupt group, of which only a shell remained of righteousness. Damian says that the temple must be lying, and the prince says that he doesn't believe it either, but he feels uncomfortable. And the problem is not that a revelation has come, but in the content of this revelation, because God himself said that a saint has appeared. Hearing this, the guy screams and says that these priests said such things because their pride was hurt, because the devil spoke first, and they clearly know where this information came from, but they declared it a revelation from God. Damian knows it's been over 100 years since those bastards could hear the voice of God. Osiris says that the temple does not disclose this information because it could cause confusion, and they said that they will wait until the saint is found, and this is naturally an excuse, but over time the information will still spread. The guy says that he understood only one thing, and thinks that for some time he will not even go near Tarragon because it irritates him. Damian thought that he was originally going to return as soon as he found the saint, but he realized that everything went wrong. The prince says he is free and asks what the situation is in Otana. He says all the dark mages have gone into hiding, but thinks he will have to contact Otana's sonnet because they see the princess as a strong candidate for sainthood, and therefore think that the mages will soon appear nearby again. Osiris asks in surprise if he can come to her, and the guy claims that of course he can, and he will do anything, and then says that he will take care of it himself. Damian sat on his horse and thought that in order to get to Sonnet Autan, he needed to enlist Lara's help, and this was a natural way to complete the current mission. However, the guy does not understand why he is angry, and thinks that it is because he is not the Damian she knows, and she should not feel guilty in front of him. The young man reflects on the fact that he also has no desire to receive compensation for the misfortunes that he did not experience, but he does not know what this feeling is that makes him feel happy next to Lara. The guy thinks that Lara imagines that she met him in a dream, but considering that she knows information about him that he has never mentioned anywhere, this is not so clear, and it seems to him that she has some degree of prevision. Damian reflects on the fact that if Lara sees him in her fantasies of this world, then he is exactly the opposite, because he sees this world as one big performance. People are actors who speak and move as written in the script, and it is like an illusion that disappears when the play ends. And even if they communicate with him and look into his eyes in this huge world, the only people whose lives are intertwined are actors and actresses. Damian knows that he has always looked at them alone, from the point of view of the viewer, and there only Lara seems to him a real person, and not an actor from a script. And thanks to her, this world which was for him just a black and white play was painted in bright colors and filled with life. The guy understands that he had such a feeling for the first time, and until now there was no place where his slave would be recognized as a human being. After all, he simply fought without even knowing what the words friend and enemy, justice and injustice mean. The young man survived by collecting rotten meat and eating what was in the pockets of the dead, and after he became good with weapons in exchange for housing and food, people began to try to use him as a shield. Damian was thrown into the dangerous and intense battlefield, and one day he saved His Highness. Before meeting Lara, only one character treated him as a person, as an equal to himself, the successor of the Tarragon of a huge empire, covering half the continent of Asurus, Elin Tarragon. The loyal subjects supporting the Asurus were not happy with the presence of a former slave warrior next to the crown prince. When a political movement threatened his life, the prince told him to go to Autan to check the movements of the dark mages and report back. Damian understands that in order to protect his life, he gave him an order and also told him to meet the person with whom he wants to spend his life and fall in love. His Highness announces that he will erase all records of him remaining in the Empire and will also try to erase the name of the slave warrior named Damian. However, the guy claims that this will never happen because he will die in battle. Hearing this, the prince screams and says that he is a crazy psycho and tells him to have at least one wish in this life. Axirus asks him why he thinks he lived to see this day. The young man replies that he was strong enough, but the prince objects and says that it is because there is someone he has not yet met. Connie saw a guy and thought that this was the Damian who disappeared for a few days. He says that he has a question and then asks where Lara is now. At this time at the ball, the butler announces that His Royal Highness has arrived. Eunice turns to the prince and says that he visited such a worthless place, and she doesn't even know what to do with herself, and therefore asks him to come in and decorate this unsightly party. Sidar thinks that he seems to have caused some inconvenience, and so tells her not to worry, and then informs that he came here because he was worried about his younger sister. The lady asks in surprise how he can be so kind, and she would like to have such an older brother. At this time, the main character thought that the atmosphere was so good, but he ruined everything. The ladies treated him kindly and were simply charmed by the princess's prettiness. The sonnet tells her that she must go because her brother is a difficult person, and when she asked him to accompany her, he very coldly rejected her request. The main character knows that he didn't care that the princess had problems with her partner, but in order to strengthen his authority in the eyes of the nobles, he now pulls such tricks, and she understands that he is still like that, and this gives her peace of mind. Lara ponders that if he is the same pathetic person she knows him to be, she wonders if she can handle him. The princess thanks the lady for being her partner today, and then says it was a lot of fun. The girl claims that she will accompany her to the end. The prince asks the sonnet if she had fun today, and then turns to the lady and says that she is now the daughter of Isadora, and thanks her for accompanying his sister. Sidar thinks that men's clothes suit her very well, but he imagined her as more feminine, and then asks if she made her voice rougher since she is now in a male image. The lady replies that she is only kind to the people she likes. His Highness says that he almost forgot, and then says that he regrets the tragedy that happened to her family. The prince says that they say that pain is relieved if you share it, and if she needs a friend, then let her come to him at any time, because he will definitely help. The main character claims that everything is fine, and that he shouldn't worry. And at that time, she thought that it was difficult to speak clearly, because he thinks that she doesn't understand that this is how he wants to get closer to his mother. The prince takes his sister and says that it is time for them to go, and suggests that they see each other next time. Jimena turns to the lady and asks what's wrong with her face and why she's like this, and also wonders why she hates the prince so much and what happened. Eunice says that's enough of this, and then asks why they continue to talk about people they don't like, since the princess is no longer here. Then she claims that this means that it's time for them to have some fun, and opens a bottle of champagne, and announces that the adult party has begun. And after a few bottles of wine, Jimena asks the lady if she is drunk, yet Lara claims that she is fine. Suddenly, the guy comes up to the stall, and then he takes her hand, and they leave together. The girl asks if he is still angry, and then says that she wants to apologize, and offers to look at her. Damian says he doesn't want to, and the lady asks why. He replies that he's angry, but doesn't want to show it, because he doesn't want to. Lara apologizes and says that she didn't look at it from his side and was only thinking about herself and her feelings, and therefore it is not surprising that he considers her story a dream, and if it is unpleasant for him, she will not talk about it in the future. The girl says that the royal family's sword is an award given to him by the princess, so she hopes that he will not refuse it, and the same applies to the money that his mother gives him, since he is her bodyguard, because she believes that he should receive what he deserves. The lady tells him to look at her, and the guy claims that he doesn't want to. The girl asks why he is acting like this, and at that time she thought that he is really angry because she sees him like this for the first time. Damian looked at Lara, and she asks why he looks at her like that. The young man tells her not to ask, because he thinks he will regret it later. She doesn't understand why she will regret it and asks about it. The guy says that because he wants to kiss her now. Hearing this, the girl was surprised, and he asks what then, now that she knows about it. Lara says she doesn't want to, and then grabs him by the shirt and says she won't avoid him. Hearing this, he smiles and says she drives him crazy, and then kisses him and reminds him that she said she won't regret it. The lady screams and apologizes, then explains that she didn't know anyone was there. Lara suggests that Damian go home, and he offers to give her a ride on his horse. Lara reminds him of something they talked about recently and asks what will happen next. He asks if he is talking about a kiss, and the lady objects and says that he is talking about the royal sword and the money that his mother will give him. Damian says that let it be as she wants, and the young lady convinces that she will also do what she wants. The main character remembers that in her past life, when she kissed the Prince of Sidhar, it seemed to her that she was being denied love, and the more she longed for his love, the more unhappy she became, and it would have been the same even if their bodies had been intertwined. A false saint is also partly a saint, so when she was told that she should preserve her chastity until marriage, she willingly agreed. And now when she thinks about it, she is very happy, because she was a real fool who thought that it was for her own good. Lady believes that even now, Damian, in whose eyes are devoid of reason, fear, logic, or guilt, blind steps so as not to miss the emotion of the moment, even the reason why he kissed her. Lara asks why he kissed her. The guy answers that because he couldn't help himself, and at that time the main character thought that this was not the answer she wanted. Connie asks the lady if she was scared, and then says that Princess Sonnet sent a letter in which she wrote that she would like to invite her to her place when it is convenient for her. After reading the letter, the main character thought that she was so kind, and even if she had written the date and time, no one would have dared to disobey. Lara says that since it is autumn now, a typhoon is approaching, and suggests closing the window. Connie says that Valentine must be getting caught in the rain because he said he was going to the doctor about his leg, and he thinks he should have brought an umbrella. The lady says that Valentine is not her son, and the maid explains that she is worried, and it seems to her that if she leaves him even for a second, he will get bruises. The lady reminds that she said that he is not her son, and at that time she thought that now it is possible to do so unnoticed, but later he will become an alchemist obsessed with money. Connie claims that even between friends, such anxiety can arise, and thinks that the lady is very cold, and then says that the princess is like an angel. The maid says that the maid lady Eunice always wants to brag about something everywhere, but she does not understand why last time she praised her so much that she almost raised her to the skies. And the Queen of Demons, Lara, made her fall in love with herself. The mistress invites the maid to go with her to the princess's palace. The next few days have seen heavy rainfall. The water level in the Tender River begins to rise dangerously, and the inhabitants of low-lying areas are ordered to evacuate. On a day when it was raining heavily, it seemed like the end of the world was coming. The princess read a letter in which Lara suggested that they meet soon on a sunny autumn day. The princess was attacked again by a dark magician. The maids dressed in the same dresses as the princess all ran away in different directions to confuse the attacker. The guardian knights risked their lives to stop the dark mage, And that day, the dark mage took the lives of 7 guardian knights and 38 soldiers, as well as the lives of 4 maids and 6 castle workers. The magician, having spun into eternal sleep, left behind words similar to a curse. He said that a saint had appeared in Otana, and her master would tear her into pieces and devour her. Since the attack on the princess, the same thing has been happening everywhere. Dark magicians have been attacking women who were suspected of being saints, and only 2 of them survived. One was a nobleman's daughter, and the other was a farmer's wife, and no one knows which of them is the real one. 10. The candidates for the title of saint were Princess Sonnet, a nobleman's daughter, and a farmer's wife. Up until now, plans have been made to control the damage and investigate the situation. But now there is another problem. The Marquis screams and says that his daughter is a real saint, and she has been unusual since she was little, and he knew that one day something like this would happen. The farmer cries out and claims that his wife is a real saint, and then asks differently, what is the reason that during the last typhoon, only their fields were not damaged, and claims that it is because God chose his wife. Besides the princess, each of the 2 candidates began to claim that she was the real saint. The kingdom was covered in disputes about who was the real saint. The Temple of Glory is the one who should come to the forefront to resolve the matter, but they remained silent. At this time, the main character thought that the temple also does not know anything, because God has long since left these lands, and she believes that in any case, this is something that has never happened in the past, because at that time, neither God nor the devil gave such revelations. The girl thinks that they have been doing this scam with the saints for too long, and it reminds her of her past and makes her feel uncomfortable. The mother asks her daughter how she is, and the young lady claims that everything is fine, and then asks what the mother thinks about the candidates for sainthood and which of them is real. Isadora says that she thinks that they are all fake. The daughter was surprised to hear this, and the mother says that God is silent, and if the saint really appeared, then a huge miracle would happen, which everyone would pay attention to. The lady says that the resurrection of the dead is a prediction of future events, or the use of divine power that no longer exists. At this time, the girl does not understand, but for some reason she felt uneasy. Resurrection is not a prophecy, but she knows something that will happen in the future. A body that heals itself, no matter how much it is injured. Lara thought that if she really was a saint, then it would have been the same in the past. But then she definitely didn't feel anything out of the ordinary. The young lady asks, what if the princess is a saint, and she wonders what will happen next. The mother informs that the king's power will outweigh the temple's influence, because the princess is from the royal family. Isadora says that then when the temple wants to keep the royal palace under control, the royal family will ask for the safety of the saint. The daughter asks, what if the royal family refuses to give up the saint? She replies that the temple will declare war on the royal family, and Prince Cedar has already suggested such an outcome. The woman says that there is a high probability that if the princess turns out to be a saint, he will betray the king and sell the Princess Sonnet to the temple in order to take the throne. The main character wonders whether the prince will make a puppet out of the saint, and the mother says that the princess is sweet but not simple. However, she does not understand why the king would appoint his daughter, who is 10 years younger than her adult brother, as the next king. Hearing this, Lara thought that it was true, because in the past she had fallen for such a trick of the prince that even a princess who is only 14 had not fallen for. Lara asks, what if she were a saint? Hearing this, the mother was surprised and asks if she wants to become a saint. The girl says that, of course not. Hearing this, Isadora says that thank God, because she believes that it is better not to do such troublesome things. She says that at the moment when people are on her side, it may seem that her strength and power has become greater, but over time she will understand that it is impossible to please everyone. Mother says that if one person fulfills his wish, the second will come to her as another, and if she does not have the strength to fulfill it, he will get angry. Later, for the sake of saving one person, he will receive the wrath and resentment of the whole world. The woman says that she will be between the royal family and the temple, and will be used for political purposes, and on top of that, she will always have to take the initiative in dangerous and difficult tasks. The lady says that God is great, so it is enough for him to just look down from above. But since she is a holy person, she will be in pain all the time, and living for the sake of others, she will lose herself. Mother says that she shouldn't worry too much about Princess Sonnet though, and the royal family probably already knows that she's not a saint. At this time, the main character thought that she was not worried about the princess, and the woman says that this is not a sonnet. It is she who is worried and therefore thinks that it would be good if everything went without any serious problems. A few days later, public opinion was leaning more towards the farmer's wife as a candidate for the role of saint. The nobles, with their daughters in the vanguard, also tried to scream and beg the saint to embrace their child at least once, and also asked her to touch their hand. Eunice asks whose idea it was to go out today, because there are too many people here at this time. Jimena asks if she thinks she knew it would turn out like this. In addition to all this, there was a wonderful story about a typhoon that only missed her fields. In addition, there are testimonies about how arrogant and depraved the nobleman's daughter was. This also caused a lot of negative reactions from people. Lara asks her friend if she knows the daughter of the nobleman. Eunice replies that she has seen her at night parties. Jimena reminds that Eunice also pulled out her hair at the academy. The lady with red hair explains that she did it because she was telling everyone that she was a motherless girl. Jimena wonders if she is not surprised that nobles are trying to take advantage of their daughter. However, she thinks that in fact, most likely the saint is not this woman, but an angelic Princess Sonnet. Eunice says she thinks so too. The main character reflects that perhaps God was more lenient than she expected, and she does not understand what the point of all this is. Suddenly, Lara saw Damian, and he asked in surprise why she was here. The girl explains that she went out to have fun, but because of the crowd, they got stuck, and asks why he is here. The guy says that the crown prince ordered to look around this place, although he will not be paid for it. Eunice tells Lara that she just remembered that she and Jimena had some business, and so they leave and wish her a good time on their date. At this time, the main character thought that it was possible not to leave because they behave like actresses, and the guy turns to her and says that she looks like she has a lot of free time, and then asks how about a date with him. The young lady asks what about His Highness's errand. He says he doesn't care, and the girl asks why he doesn't take her somewhere. Then, a few minutes later, they were outside the city and sitting under a tree. Lara asks if this is a place for dates. He asks if she likes places with lots of people. And at this time, the main character thought that he likes to leave the last word to him, and then says that it will do. The young lady asks the guy if he is going to take the woman to the empire. When it becomes clear who the real saint is, he replies that he is going to. Lara wonders what if the saint says she doesn't want to go. The guy claims he'll have to convince her. The girl asks what if she still refuses after his persuasion. Damian says that then he will have to come up with something else. The lady asks what if he never finds out who the saint is. He thinks that Asarus will give him another assignment, and then suggests that she just tell him not to leave. The young man says that even if Asarur orders him to return, he will simply refuse him. She asks if he is not his subordinate, and at this time thinks about how he was the person who saved the crown prince during the war. She thinks that they are very close. The boy asks what she is thinking, and the lady asks if he can tell her why His Highness needs a saint. The boy claims that this is a story that everyone already knows because of the battle with the devil. Saints are necessary in this war with the devil, and they are the most useful. Damian says that Asarus is gathering its forces in preparation for war, and the reason why Aten was excluded is because this country was too weak. The young man believes that if a country can be turned upside down by just a few dark magicians, then when the devil appears, there won't be ashes left in a second. Lara asks if they take the saints because they are useful in the war against the devil. The devils want control over this continent, and if they take the saint, then not only Autan, but the entire continent will become their breeding ground. People will be treated like livestock, after which they will die out completely. The main character thought that before she died in the past, she once saw the devil appear. He was a strong demon, classified as a demon lord. In just one day, half of the western half of the kingdom was reduced to ashes. Even if there were only 2 of these devils, this small country would not even cry out and disappear from the map. Lara says that this is such an important mission, and nothing will happen if he refuses to return. He says that the Acerus also does not expect any loyalty from him. The guy says that in this case he did all this only because he had time, and therefore believes that there will be no punishment for him. She believes that not only His Highness the Crown Prince, but also his other colleagues are in the Empire. The main character claims that people who have no nationality or affiliation with any country, but who cover his back on the battlefield and follow him like a king. The young man asks her if she saw it in a dream. The lady apologizes and then says that this is a topic that he does not like. He tells her to wait a minute because he thinks there was a slight misunderstanding. Lara wonders why he got angry last time, and she claims that everything is fine and she is not disappointed, not because he does not believe her. However, if she were in his place, she would also think that this is madness. The girl says that she does not want him to disobey the order and stay here because she believes that this has absolutely nothing to do with her. Damian asks if she's serious, and the main character claims that it doesn't matter, and he objects and says that there's nothing more important in the world than that. Lara doesn't understand why she has an unpleasant feeling, and a feeling that they've already had this conversation. The girl thought about the time when the guy came back after an unfortunate number of fights and went to look for Lara. He pointed at her and said that he wanted to meet her, but as a saint of lies, she could not do anything without the prince's permission. Lara understands that she was in a situation where she could not meet anyone or go out somewhere alone, even if it was windy on the terrace, and she believes that she cannot so casually call out the name of a saint. Damian says that God did not limit them from such a thing, and asks if she plans to stay in Otan, and then offers to go with him. The main character says that she is a saint and will soon become a princess and will never leave this country. He says that it does not matter, and at this time the girl thought about what she wanted to say, that she is serious, but she does not understand why she thinks that she is lying. The guy claims that there is nothing more important in the world than this, and at this time, Lara does not remember what she answered then, and then claims that he always makes her say what she does not want to say. The young lady says that she can't say what she wants, and at this time she thinks about what she thinks most likely. She said that sincerity can't be considered important only for people like him, and not for people like her. Lara asks for forgiveness for always becoming emotional, and this is simply because she endured all this for 10 years and thought that such beauty can only be in a fairy tale with a happy ending. The girl claims that both then and now sincerity is the most important thing, but he doesn't even believe what she says, and then says that it always upsets her because she can't understand what's going on and wants to ask why he doesn't leave. The main character asks if he will leave if she doesn't tell him to leave this time. The guy touches her hand and says he's sorry that he'll get mad, then and then tells her that he's not the Damian she knows. The guy says he knows the dream is real enough to have a big impact on him, and he knows she loved him in the dream. She is surprised to hear this. The boy claims that this has nothing to do with him being in front of her. Right now, Lara explains that she said that she felt guilt, not love, and therefore wanted to atone for her guilt, but the last time he heard it, he got angry. The guy explains that the man in her dreams simply has the same name and face as him, and therefore she believes that he and he cannot be the same person, and therefore he does not have the time that she spent with that guy. Damian believes that time, memories, and emotions are different, and the reason she fell in love with this guy has nothing to do with him, and the words she said to this guy, the look that gave her a promise, and her desire to atone for her guilt, and do everything for this, and this is not his. The young man claims that she did nothing bad to him, and that he did not sacrifice anything for her, and then asks if she misses him. At this time, the main character thought that it couldn't be, and then said that this was a shameful memory, but she loved the prince then. The guy suggests, in this case, to think of him as Damian in her dreams, and what she most wants to say here and now. Lara reports that she has thought about this countless times, and at that time, she thought that of course all he needs to do is apologize and ask for forgiveness. But she does not understand where she gets this feeling that she is lying. Damian asks if she wants to tell him that she hates him, and that's the only reason she takes him so personally. She tells him to stop, and the guy thinks that she wants to tell him not to leave. The main character remembers that at that time, she felt sorry for Prince Siddhar, but her sincere love, having realized the true nature of the prince, slowly faded away, and soon there was nothing left of it, because she could not confess her feelings. Lara left the people who loved her because she wanted to be with the prince, but she realized too late that she did not love him. She became curious about what would happen to everything she had done so far and how she would live now. The girl remembers that at that time next to her, there was only one person who was a heartless prince who did not look at her. Damian turns to the lady and says that if she asks him to stay by his side, he will stay, and therefore asks her not to despise him too much. The main character asks why he is stronger and freer than anyone else to give his will to a puppet like her. The girl thought about what if time could be turned back. And the guy asks if she has fallen in love with the man she sees in him, and he wants to tell her to forget everything, but she can't, and then asks if that's true. Damian says that at first he thought she was having a nightmare, and he needed to make her realize reality, but he wanted it to be just a dream. The guy says that she found him and kissed him, and in fact, everything that she wanted to do with this guy is wrong. Lara asks if he believes her. The young man, how could he not believe him when she cried like that? Hearing this, the girl apologized and then hugged him. At this time, Damian thought that when she cries, he feels that even if he gives her everything in the world, there will be no benefit from it, and he does not know what to do. He wonders what it is like to be heartbroken. The lady says she is not in the mood for jokes. He asks if she doesn't want to go back in time, because he thinks he would gladly accept it if she confessed. The main character asks how he knows, since he is not the same person. Now even she already thinks that they are different people, and does not understand why she still thought the opposite. Lara says that soon he will catch not only the devil's minions, but also him, and then his colleagues will proclaim him the king of criminals. The girl says that now there is empty land on the continent, but then he and his colleagues will occupy it and call it a lawless zone. And at that time she realized that just saying this makes her feel relieved. The lady tells him to just go with the flow of circumstances, because the future will change anyway, and the more time passes, the more often he will be called a demon hunter or the last barbarian. Even in this country, when there was no devil, when he fought for it in Otana, he finished off all the dark magicians. The main character claims that Damian was a man who was ready to listen and do everything that the fake saint asked for, and then says that she was also fake. The maid turns to the mistress and asks her to try something from this, because it is a dessert made from crushed ice, and it gives a feeling of relaxation. Connie asks if she wants to tell her what's going on, because her eyes are really swollen. The lady says nothing special, and then smiles. The maid suggests pouring some of this jam on top and enjoying the dessert, as she thinks it will taste much better that way. She thanks him, and then asks how she made this ice. The maid says that Valentine made it, and when she told him that she liked cold desserts, he made her an ice crusher. Hearing this, the main character understands that he is very clever, and although he is bad at communicating with people, he has an incomparable talent in another area, and it would be great if he could also talk to him normally. Lara says that there are things in this world that cannot be done without her, and one of them is taking care of Valentina. The emotional wounds that were inflicted on him are not easy to heal, and even though it was for his own salvation, he must have been very scared. Connie says that in that case there are probably other things that no one else can do, except her, the mistress, because the mistress is much cooler than her. Lara remembered that in her past life, there was nothing that could not be done without her participation, and it did not matter that she was a woman who was near the prince of the Cedar. The girl believed that all she had to do was be obedient and stupid, and in her past life, she was exactly like that, and they could find a replacement for her at any moment. But from the moment she returned, something began to change. At first, the lady thought that someone almighty took pity on her and gave her a miracle so that she could change the past and live a happy future. But no matter how much she thought about it, it seemed that there was another reason. And she thought that since she returned to the past, a lot had changed, and what she did not change remained the same. People who are deceived by the false holy appearances of the devil's minions, including dark magicians, as well as the Damian, who does not want to leave her. Suddenly, the maid pricked her finger with a needle and said that it was a small scratch during embroidery. And at this time, the main character thought that everything was right, because such things are normal, and she always avoided it. The mistress tells the maids to prepare a carriage while she is treating her hand because she needs to go somewhere. Hearing this, the maid asks in surprise, where at such a time, Lara replies that she is going to the Temple of Glory. Connie gives the lady another servant's ID and says that there is a lot of noise now because of the candidates for sainthood, and she is afraid that there will be a lot of problems if she goes there with her real name, and therefore by entering with this, everything will be fine. At this time, Lara thought that she was neat, and she needed to meet with God because it was said that the temple is the house of God. The lady reflects on the fact that she does not know whether God or the devil sent her to the past, and she will simply enter the house of one of them and make noise wanting to talk to him. Then someone will definitely respond, and what happens will happen. The girl thought that she would not avoid it anymore, but suddenly she does not understand why she suddenly feels very dizzy. Lara understands that she does not believe in God and she has nothing to do there, but she does not know why she constantly ends up there. But she believes that in any case, she is not a real saint. And the main character knows that first of all the plan was to use her to take the throne, and she does not understand why they discussed this without her, because it was a plan that could not be implemented without her. The young lady thought that it was very cold and scary there, and for no reason at all, she had the feeling that someone was watching, and other things seemed old, and only from him, the stone statue felt alive. Lara came closer to the statue, and then kissed her on the lips, and at that time she thought that it was so exciting, and she seemed to have become a villain who had corrupted God, and thought that no one would know that she had done this, because before she had felt uncomfortable and scared. The girl realized that now only in this place in the temple, it seems to her that this is the place where she can be, and the only place with which she is connected here, and at that time even smiling and walking were under control. At that moment, she thought only about the feeling of liberation. The main character does not understand whether he was not angry because of what happened then, and believes that if he is a god, he would not have chosen her just because she once kissed him. But if this is true, then she will prefer to act confidently. Lara asks what they want from her, and at that time, I realized that she was wrong about her second life. The girl heard a voice that said that she lives without regrets, and then asked if this was God speaking. He replied that some people call him that. And at this time, the main character thought that it was amazing because she had the feeling that she was hearing it in her head and not with her ears. Lara doesn't know if he's an adult, a child, a woman, or a man. But she thinks he's angry, but at the same time, he seems to be smiling. And he asks if it was her question. The lady objects and says that no, there is more, and he suggests coming closer. The main character thought that there is no need to be nervous and needs to find out more. The girl asks him that when he said that some people call him God, did he really mean that others call him the devil? He replies that there were times when people called him that. The main character asks in surprise how to address him and what to call him. The stone statue says that everything like a name has disappeared, and everything that she attaches to him is just characteristics that disappear without having any value. Lara asks if he chose her as a saint, and he replies that it was a bit like that, and that she chose him because he slept for a long time, and she woke him up with her daring kiss. The girl asks in surprise if this is the reason why he chose her. The statue says that she is the first saint to choose a god in this way, and probably even if you ask the other gods. Lara apologizes, and at that moment realized what the hell she did, and then asks to think again, because there are probably many people in the world better than her, and she wants to live a normal life. The statue asks if she will return to her first life. The lady says that he is so cruel because he knows that she cannot do this, and at that time she thought that it was because he is God, and her wounds heal themselves, and she wondered if she would die again, even if she got seriously injured. The stone man says the pain will go away, but it won't stop the death and suffering. She wonders if she can't use her power to heal others. The statue says that he is not such a god, but is only a forgotten god, and forgotten by it. At this time, the main character thought that he was sad, and then asked that if she continued to live like this without returning to her first life, would she die on the same day as in her past life in 10 years? The statue says that she doesn't know this, because this is the first time he turned back time. The lady asks what he wanted from her, since it even made him turn back time. He replies that he hopes to correct the mistake and tells her to close her eyes because she will find the past interesting, and he will show her the world after her death. Lara closed her eyes and seemed to be watching herself from the outside. She saw how the flames of fire enveloped people, and they asked for help, and she wondered where her sacrifice had gone. Prince Siddhar, who despised human weaknesses, became a servant of the devil, and from that day on this world began to follow the path of destruction. Damian ran up to the dead girl and asked her to get up, and also apologized for leaving. The main character looked at the guy and thought that he had become a stronghold of devil worshippers who were scattered throughout the continent and clashed with others and fought. They created a huge army of witches, sorcerers, and demons centered around Autan. This is the battlefield that must be passed through to get to the empire of Estragon, and they entered a lawless zone. There, Damian lost the woman he loved with all his heart and soul, and became the king of criminals, Lord Damian Drake. The man tells the prince that he just arrived and asks what the situation is, and at that moment he saw danger and told his majesty to leave. The knight screams and says that Damian defeated the devil, or he himself became the devil, because there was no love left in his heart, and he was soaked in the red liquid of the devil. On this day, Osiris, the crown prince of the empire, killed his friend who had become a devil. The Harmony continent was completely given over to the devil worshippers. Humans were raised as livestock by the dark magicians. They were used as test subjects, and they also used humans as ingredients for demon food. All the demonic beasts trapped in the separated areas ran out. They used the human land as a new territory and increased their population. Devils, worshippers of the devil, and demonic beasts under them. People became livestock or slaves and quickly died out. It was the destruction of the world caused by the death of Lara. The statue asks if she saw everything, and then claims that this is the world after her death. Lara asks in surprise why he showed this to her. She wonders what he wants to say by this, that without her, the world will perish. The girl thought that this face was stuck in her memory so much that she could not forget it, because she did not even know that he loved her so much. The main character reflects on the fact that she should have left with him when he asked her to, and having forgotten about the devil, they would have been together until the very end. Dying people, the world in burnt ruins in it, was also Mother and Sebastian Connie, and Valentine Eunice, and Jimena. Lara asks what she should do to prevent the destruction of the world, and he answers that everything depends on her. The young lady never thought about changing the world. And let's start with the fact that she is not such a great person. Only heroes like Damian and Acerus can interfere with history and fight it. The girl says that she didn't know that she would have to deal with something so serious and considers herself weak because she is just an ordinary person. Lara understands that if she does nothing, everyone she loves will die. God reminds her that she said she would do anything, and that is why he gave her a chance to turn back and fix it. The stone statue says that the heroes of difficult times are also ordinary people, and they all want to protect their loved ones. And the girl says that she is Lara. The stone man claims that one person's choice can change history, and he will wait. Lara asks him to wait because she still has questions, and he suggests that she find his name, and then he will answer her question. At this time, the main character realized that he had already left this place and said that the choice of one person, and that was all she understood, and therefore believed that she should do it. The girl thought that she needed to know his name because he was a god whose name she did not know. In the evening, Lara knocked on Damian's door. He asked in surprise what it was. She quickly walked up to the sword and then picked it up and offered to look at it. The guy screams and asks what she is doing now, and the girl offers him to look at the hand she cut. The young man asks what she wants and then looks at her hand in surprise and asks if she just cut herself since her hand was completely unharmed. Lara claims that she was not a fake. She was a real saint, and she did not lie, and she only just found out about it. Damian asks in surprise when this started happening. She says that she first began to suspect it when her father kidnapped her. The lady says that she then jumped out of the fire and was badly beaten. But even so, the wound healed quickly, and at this time he says that he can't believe that she was so close. The girl asks if he is going to take her to the Empire now. The guy replies that not now, and if she says she doesn't want to, he won't take her. Hearing this, the main character asks in surprise if this is true, and he says that if she does not want to reveal this, then he will remain silent until his death. Lara asks if he still considers her his lady master, and then tells him that she has a plan, and therefore asks him to continue exploring the environment of false saints and dark magicians, as he has done so far. The guy asks what exactly she is planning, and the girl replies that she will send him to the Empire. The next day, the lady wondered whether she should tell her mother, because she thought that she must be worried. And even if she couldn't reveal everything, she should tell her that she was a saint. Lara understands that if something happens to her, it would be best for her mother to be aware of the whole situation. And although she thought about it all night, she still can't decide. The main character doesn't understand whether it's worth meeting the Frost first. Sebastian turns to the lady and wishes her good morning. She asks if he is going to work and offers to go together. The man asks what she is doing, and the lady asks if her mother has been busy lately. He answers that she is busy as always. The girl thought about what it meant that her mother was busy, and she didn't know whether it was worth putting the burden of a holy mother on her who was so busy. The secretary asks if she is nervous, and the young lady asks if it is noticeable. He says that if the lady has such an expression on her face, it usually happens when something is happening, and she needs to make an important decision. Lara asks in surprise how he manages to read people like that. He says that he knew a person similar to her, and it can be said that this is a special kind of mind-reading technique. The lady says that her mother is busy, but she feels uncomfortable because she keeps inconveniencing her, and Sebastian objects and claims that this is not true, but rather she is disappointed that her daughter is so independent. The secretary says that she constantly thinks about whether she suffers too much in solitude, and the lady most likely wants to spoil her, give her lots and lots of pocket money, and settle unpleasant situations for her. The man asks if she will tell her about what he told her. The girl says that mother is the greatest businesswoman in the kingdom of Autan, and so her daughter should not play around. Sebastian says that as far as he can see, the young lady is very worthy of this, and there are inaccuracies in what she just said, and then claims that the lady is not the greatest in Otana, but rather on the entire continent. The secretary says that since it is a remote area, it was a bit difficult, And the young lady says she can't believe that business has gone so well, and thinks that some very original ideas must have been used. The man says that he would like her to change her job to a more suitable place, but the lady does not want this because she wants to be close to her daughter, and then says that this is also a secret, and in any case he means that she thinks a lot about her. Sebastian invites the girl to go, as he will take her there. When Isadora saw her daughter, she asked in surprise why she came to her so early in the morning, and the girl asked if she could just act like a child, and then hugged her mother. Lara tells her not to be surprised, and then tells her that God said that she is a saint, and upon hearing this, the woman was surprised. The main character explains that God asks her to find his name and says that her mistakes need to be corrected, and then asks what this means. The lady says that she understands the big picture, and then tells her daughter that she doesn't have to do this if she doesn't want to, and she can help her with this. Isadora explains that in fact deep down she knew that this was all going to happen, and for a while she ignored it, but no longer wants to do so. The young lady says that she will keep it a secret for now, and the woman asks for how long. Lara replies that until those who try to use her saint as a weapon disappear. The girl believes that in this way, she and everyone around her will be safe, and everything will change, but not Prince Sidar, but Princess Sonnet. Lara claims that she will personally destroy the Sidar prince, and they will change the next holder of the throne. The assistant tells the master that he has received a letter, and the prince says that he has been receiving a lot of them lately, and the servant asks if it is not because the prince is adored by everyone. Sidar saw the seal of the magicians and realized that it was the hidden magic of the dark magicians, and then asked what the saints were doing. The assistant reported that they were reading prayers, and His Highness asked how things were going. The secretary says that the nobleman's daughter lacks concentration, and the farmer's wife is illiterate. Hearing this, the prince says that they are useless, and wonders if the letter could be related to the saint. Sidar read the letter and said that they are asking if they can create more fake saints, because this only increases the amount of waste that needs to be disposed of. The man says that perhaps it happened because they were greedy and chose people who were easy to manipulate, and the prince says that this would be a good opportunity to deal with the sonnet. The butler says that it seems that it is true that the saint has appeared, and he thinks that they need to watch it. The Sidar thinks that most likely it is not the sister, and those competent bastards must have made a mistake, but does not understand why the god does not say anything.